Finally, I'm in the right mental space again to go ahead and actually make a video. I've just been going through a couple of personal issues, as we all happen to do. Life is quite complex in that way, guys. It presents certain challenges and stuff that we can ultimately become fixated upon and can ultimately take away our attention from what actually matters and just keep our attention on all the stuff that doesn't actually matter. And usually, when that happens, it just produces fear and uncertainty within our own mind. It keeps us hyper fixated on certain topics that ultimately probably have no implications on your life in general. So, yeah, it's been, life is crazy, man. We magically spawn into this world, and all of a sudden we're born and we have a family, and luckily enough, if we're lucky, we have a functional body and a happy and healthy family. But I've said it many times before here that it's just such a perplexing concept, life. And when you begin to think so much about it, I guess it can begin to take the beauty away from life and get in the way of you actually enjoying your life for what it is, you know? And that's the thing about our minds. They're either positively or negatively orientated, but we can go through certain problems and issues that we may face. I mean, for example, I've just been focusing on certain legal issues that I ultimately found out have absolutely no basis in reality and within regards to who it is I am and what it is I'm doing. I've, through my life, gotten involved with certain people. And if anything, life has taught me that you can't just trust everyone. Not everyone has the best interest of everyone who's involved. They're just looking out for themselves, especially in stuff to do with companies and stuff. It's such a competitive, narcissistic environment that people really try get the benefit of doubt on other people. They try to screw people over with contracts and so forth and so on. And I've often spent time thinking I'm left with a bad taste in my mouth towards human beings, but I have to remind myself, like, I can't look at everyone that way. I can't look at human beings in general that way. Like, I can't look at humans through a negative lens. Like, I've seen a lot of super evil stuff take place and happen, and it really makes you question the nature of this world and the good and evil within this world. People are pretty evil and sometimes do some pretty fucked up things, and you really wonder why the hell it is that they happen to go ahead and do that sort of stuff. And I think it's just because the world's not a healthy enough environment to ensure that people do not behave that way. Like, basic basic empathy, basic emotions and respect and boundaries are not really taught to human beings. We live in such a materialistic, superficial, narcissistically driven world. And the social media content reflects and represents that. A world with so many different varying viewpoints and perspectives, where people more often than not end up disagreeing and arguing with each other. And there's ultimately so much divisiveness within this world. I watched a video from one of my friends, who I ultimately met on Patreon, Concerned American. He came up with a really good idea. He was saying that in terms of prison sentences, uh, people should be placed in prisons with the same people who have committed similar crimes. And I thought that was such an unbelievably great idea, you know. And you don't really think about it until you start worrying about things that could happen to you or somebody else. And a lot of the ways in which it is that we're doing things are not the best, most appropriate way to breed healthy, happy humans who are not narcissistic, psychopathic, and sociopathic enemies of other human beings. And what's depicted that and dictated that is ultimately American culture. If you're American, and I'm telling you this, I'm sorry to hear that, but a big thing that shapes culture and shapes people's minds and has been shaping people's minds has been American produced and American made content. And when I look at social media like TikTok and YouTube and stuff, most of the content's from Americans, and it's so political, it's so divisive, and a lot of the times it's so negative, and it's not fully encompassing of different cultures, of different viewpoints. America has been ultimately dictating and creating the way in which it is that the whole entire world has been seeing the world and learning how to treat themselves and treat other people, and it's created an extremely hyper imperialistic, capitalistic environments and superficial environment where ultimately everyone's worshiping the mighty dollar, and people are not really being taught the full extent of having empathy and compassion. People are more so being taught to defend their personal ideas and to introduce conflicts and stuff with other people and themselves surrounding it. So, if anyone can go ahead and create a social media platform, I would suggest that you don't go ahead and just blast American content to the rest of the world, because America has been producing and the leader of content and media. And what has it actually taught people? It's just taught people to look out for themselves, to be concerned about money, to not be concerned about being an empathetic, compassionate, and respectful human and individual. It lacks meaning. It lacks depth. It's just so superficial. Sorry, my dog's here. It's just what we've been teaching the world is superficiality. We've been teaching the world to behave like narcissistic assholes. Excuse my language, but that's ultimately the truth. And I hate to say it, I know there's good American people, but America is just a complete and total utter fucking shit show. And it's just been presenting and forcing that shit down our throats with all the contents and platforms they've gone ahead and produced. And there's another dog now. And all that's been doing is just creating and breeding assholes. Come on, man. It's just been creating and breeding assholes. I'm sorry to say it, but America is a fucking, I don't like America. I'm not saying that I wouldn't go live there or I wouldn't go do business in America, and I don't like certain American people. I do. But when you go on these social media platforms and see the stupid bullshit that they're presenting all the time, it's just bullshit, guys. Like, I know a lot of amazing American people who follow me, who watch me and support me, who are actually concerned about certain depth. And I'm sorry if this sounds like a personal attack to you. I'm not specifically referring to you. I'm referring to the content your country is producing en masse and in general, that these algorithms are ultimately favoring and pushing towards people. It's just these polished, superficial and political perspectives that are constantly being broadcast to people. It's the America and the UK. I don't think the UK is as bad as America, but it's just like if you go on TikTok, guys, and you sit and go through this newsfeed, eventually you're going to start feeling really crap about your own life. And you're going to start being concerned about stupid stuff you wouldn't even have thought about in the first place. And I know America wants to ban TikTok, but ultimately, guys, it's so strange that they want to ban TikTok, because all TikTok contributes towards is American cultural imperialism through the fact that the content that it favors is from American people. You go through this shit and it's superficial, meaningless bullshit constantly. Sometimes there's some good stuff and there's some bad stuff, but I mean, it's just, this is what's programming children's minds. This is what's programming people's minds. Like if you look at Tucker Carlson, all these podcasters and all this stuff and all the crap they speak about, it lacks any actual meaning or value. And it's just teaching people to be concerned about these superficial, superfluous topics and concepts. This is mind control. These algorithms that are being used on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook is ultimately all just mind control. Yeah. And that's what's happening. You're sitting around, you're bored, you want to keep yourself busy, you want to look at content. Guys, this is the epitome of human civilization and evolution. It's just so mind-numbing. It's just ultimately entertainment. It's people presenting their ideas and arguing about their ideas and their differences and their dispositions. It's so unbelievably divisive. It's putting people in boxes because of these algorithms they're using. And it's ultimately just, it's bad, guys. And I hate to say it, I love certain American people, but the American people I love, they're not being represented on these platforms. They're not being represented in media and TV and news. What's being represented in media and TV and news? Well, look at the people that are speaking on behalf of everyone. They're multimillionaires, they're billionaires, and they're supposed to relate to us in terms of meaning and depth of life. And they're the leaders of conversation and ideology and thought processes around the world. It's an echo chamber and it's ultimately a vacuum. Hey, Secretary, I'm so glad. I just actually spoke about your video that I watched about prison reform. I thought that was a really good idea, and I completely agree with everything you spoke about. Hey, Godhard, Godin, hope you're keeping well. It's designed that way. They won't want to destroy America from the inside out. America's destroying itself from the inside out. They don't need TikTok's help to do that. All TikTok is doing is expressing American views, media, and content. That's all it's doing. It's not expressing Chinese views. Maybe the algorithms created by Chinese people, but guys, it's not expressing Chinese views on here. It's expressing American views. American political viewpoints are being expressed on here. So America's destroying itself, morally speaking, from the inside out. Nobody else is destroying America but America itself. And that destruction of America contributes to the destruction of the rest of the world, because America is a culturally imperialist country. It produces all the media, all the this, all the that. It doesn't matter if this is a Chinese-made platform. This is American content, guys. If you go on YouTube, it's showing me American people. It's not showing me South African people. It's not showing me Nigerian people. It's not showing me people from the rest of the world. And it's like an echo chamber of thoughts and ideas, guys. And it's determining what people are interested in. People are interested in bullshit. If you want to know what people are interested in, go look on these social media platforms. It might not mean that they're actually interested in this, but according to their algorithms, they are. What's going on here? Now you want to leave. Make up your mind. And I'm sorry to say it, but guys, I go on here. Thank you for the blessings, God, and I really do appreciate it. It's just it's negative, guys. If you spend your time going through YouTube videos on their page that are presented and shown to you, if you spend your time going through here, if you spend your time going through Instagram, anywhere where you're looking at media, it's just negative. You watch it and you listen to these people, their podcasts, their this, their that. It's extremely fucking. It doesn't inspire free thought. They're telling you what to believe, and it's really negative. I know I'm sounding negative right now, and this is a bit of a negative video. But what's positive about this video that I'm making right now is I'm sharing the truth. I'm not conforming towards media standards and conversational and communication standards. I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking my mind. And what's scaring me and what's bothering me, and has been always bothering me, is the fact that that's not inspired. Free thoughts and individual expression is not being inspired. It's all about conformation. It's just conforming people into these boxes of political beliefs and so forth and so on. And it's like, where are the actual people speaking their fucking mind? It's discouraging people from speaking their mind. Another thing about TikTok is that, you can't even say the word murder on here. You can't say the word genocide on here. You can't speak about certain political issues and topics. People condemn them, like, Israel and Palestine and whatever. People are condemning free speech. They're condemning independent thought. They're condemning people from having their own opinions. It's just formulating opinions for people. Instagram is worse. I had to make a new Instagram, and all the recommended is basically soft porn. Absolutely correct, man. And I totally, completely agree with you on that. Instagram is worse than TikTok. At least every now and again on TikTok, there may be something inspiring. But it's just like, you're telling me what to think. And, if you don't use social media, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing if you don't use social media. But this conversation and topic and what I'm speaking about is really relevant, because mostly everyone else around you does use social media. The world's being formulated by what's being preferred on these platforms. And in my personal opinion, it makes people scared like myself to share their own opinion, because you're going to be scared that someone doesn't agree with you, that your opinion somehow is not attractive enough in order for people to be attracted towards it, you know? And that's really good, Secretary. If you don't use it, it's so good for your mental health. It's unbelievable. Unfortunately, I'm going to go ahead and admit that I am actually somewhat addicted to seeking content, because most of the time, I actually am quite bored. And that's what these things are here to do, is ultimately solve and save people's boredom. I mean, if we look at entertainment in the world, entertainment is like the most biggest valued and sold commodity, and it affects our life. It affects people's minds. It affects the way people perceive the world. And I just don't see enough original opinions out there. I just don't see enough people actually speaking their minds. And that may not bother other people, but for me, I like to hear people speak their minds. Like Secretary, when I watch your YouTube videos, and I really enjoy it, because you speak your mind and you share really original thoughts and original opinions, which you're not going to find anywhere else. But my question is, why doesn't a channel like yours get favored in these algorithms? What is actually powering these algorithms? And I know I'm speaking a lot about technology and social media and stuff, but to be honest with you, I would like to see more people like yourself predominantly represented on social media. And it is a vacuum, guys. It's completely, totally a vacuum. And you can't tell me it doesn't affect people's minds and the people you've met. It does. It completely and totally does. Fortunately, some people just don't let it affect them. Some people don't let it get to them. And it's like the news, for instance. The news, a lot of people have complained about it being completely and totally toxic, because it's the people who own the news companies who are deciding what people want to see. It's not just, oh yeah, this is what people want to see. It's like we're contributing towards what it is we think people want to see. And the thing is, if these algorithms are so effective, then why is someone like me saying I'm not enjoying it anymore? Because it's just discourages free speech. It creates conversational topics that give people a guideline of what to talk about, instead of talking about the stuff that's in their hearts and in their minds. And it bothers me and it worries me, because this world's really getting in the way of free speech and inspiring independent thoughts. It's platforms, it's products, it's services, it's media, it's news, it's movies, it's music. It's just forcing you into a box. And I've had a problem with it for so long. I've had a problem with Hollywood before social media became so prominent. All social media is the evolution of Hollywood. So I had an overnight eruption of followers a few years ago. My Concerned American account grew over 1,000 followers on 2 platforms in one day, and they stopped me and they now delete my views. But that's ridiculous, dude. That's so ridiculous, dude. Why? Why are they blocking you, bro? You see what I'm saying? This curation of content is so ridiculous, man. They're blocked and messed with every account since. As you guys know, I'm creating a social media application. And this is actually, one of the reasons why I'm creating it, because why are these fucking rich assholes determining what we can talk about? I know it's their platform and it's this and that, but honestly, why are they? It's so shit. I don't even know what to say. They have blocked and messed with every account since. It's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. Like, it's mainstream. Social media content is mainstream. Hollywood was mainstream. That's why I'm saying, like, social media is just an evolution of that. And why is this important? I'm just speaking about social media stuff. And guys, this affects our thoughts. It affects the world. It affects the people around you. It affects what they think about, what they prioritize, how they act, what they hold to be important towards them. It's not just a social media conversation. This is a human conversation. And social media just happens to be heavily influencing, designing, and editing and dictating what humans are concerned about. And that's extremely worrying, And like, for instance, what I'm speaking about right now, you don't hear people speaking about this that have got shit tons of views, shit tons of followers. You don't hear them speaking about this. They're just conformists. They're just presenting you conformed bubblegum recycled bullshit of the same critical stuff. It's the same guys speaking about the same things. And it's like, where is the independent thought? Where are the people that, like, Sacred Terror or Concerned American? Where are these people being presented to us who have really good ideas, really good thoughts, really healthy viewpoints, really healthy perspectives? Where are they? And I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about it, I guess, because it affects the world I live in. It affects the people I'm around. Unfortunately, I don't, all the people that have been following and supporting me, unfortunately, you're dispersed. You're far and few between. And there's probably a lot of you guys, but I don't see your viewpoints being expressed as mainstream. They're not. They're not. And it's just, so I plan to change that in a big way once I produce certain technologies. But the thing is like, you live in a world that's safeguarded and has gatekeepers. And if they don't like you and they don't like this and that, they'll take active steps to shut you down and quieten you down. They'll do that. I just want to go ahead and say, for any new viewers here, if you want to support this channel, please subscribe, please like this video. And if you want to support me and the work it is that I do, please check out my Patreon. I post a whole lot of content on there, including these live stream videos, and content that I sift through and I look at, and I'm like, you know what, this is worthy of sharing with somebody. I don't want to just share anything with people on there. It's sort of like a news feed, and you'll find the Patreon description link in the description below. But to go back to what I'm saying, this world is like, it's evil, to be honest with you. There's good in the world, but the world's fucking evil, guys. Some of the shit I've seen online is so fucking evil that humans do to each other. I'm going to go ahead and say there's this website. I'm actually not even going to mention it because I don't want to be responsible for you looking at fucking evil shit online. But sometimes I look and I'm curious to see what humans are doing to each other, and it blows your mind, man. And so what I'm saying is, this environment's not conducive towards the lack and lessening of evil people. It's just producing more evil people, man. More selfish, more greedy, more narcissistic, sociopathic, and psychopathic people. That's what this global culture that's been dictated by American imperialism is just pushing onto people. It's like, where's the love? Where's the care? Where's the compassion? Where's the empathy? Where's the prioritization and importance on that? Where's the encouragement of people sharing their own ideas, sharing their own opinions, sharing their own thoughts? It's not encouraged. It's shut down, it's blocked, it's censored. And all that's been encouraged is division. Division, ideological division, belief-based division between people. It's going to take men like us to do it, brother. Absolutely. And, I'm going to stay fixated on that. I know I only have so many years on this earth, but from my perspective, I just want to make these years matter. And if I'm going to do anything significant, in order for it to have any value, meaning, or purpose for me, it should contribute value towards at least trying to change this world and this echo chamber of materialism and superficiality. And encourage people to speak their mind. So many people are so scared of speaking their mind, including myself sometimes. I'm scared that if I speak my mind, I'm going to lose people's attention. I'm going to lose viewers and stuff. But then it's like, why should I be concerned about that? Because then I'm presenting a fake facade to you. I don't want to be fake for the sake of appealing to people's interests and opinions. I don't want to do that, because then I'm presenting a fake person to you. Then I'm just constructing and construing my language and communication the same way these social media platforms do. They're curating what they think you want to see. I don't want to curate what I think you want to hear, because that gets in the way of me sharing my own opinion, my own views, my own expression. This world is not expressive. As much art and media and content that it has, there's so little expression. I just see so little expression taking place. It's all just products and money and attention grabbing. That's all it is. And Maybe to some people that doesn't matter, but to me that matters. I don't want to be filling my head with hollow, shallow stuff all the time. I actually want substance. I want things that mean and matter to me, that actually can make me think for myself and actually make me feel better. Like your channel, Sacred Terror. I really enjoy your content because you're expressing your mind, dude. There's no filters, there's no this, there's no that. You're just speaking your mind. And that's what this world's done, this marketplace has done. It's restricted people from speaking their minds, and it discourages people from speaking their minds. And if it does that on public platforms, it's going to do that in social settings, amongst communication and expression from humans to humans. And Secretary says that's why I stay off social media, and I agree with you, man. You should totally do that. Did you watch the Old World Order yet? I don't think I actually did, man. I hope you can send that to me again. I know you sent me links. I did check out the links. I did check out the stuff. But Old World Order, I didn't actually watch, to be honest with you. So you can send it to me again. I'd really appreciate it. I can also go ahead and share it on the Patreon. So yeah, what else do I want to talk about? I want to talk about thanks, man. Just send it to me. You can actually send it on Patreon. I'd appreciate that. Um, so so yeah, guys, it's just you know you come into this world. And another thing I want to speak about is like being concerned about shit that doesn't matter and that fixates your attention on stuff that's not good for your mental health. I think that's part of this conversation and part of what it is that I've been talking about. Uh, for whatever reason, sometimes I worry about irrelevant stuff. But one thing I've learned, guys, after getting in business with certain people and doing stuff with certain people, is that you can't trust everyone, especially in fucking business, because this business capitalistic world, capitalism is great to a certain degree, but it breeds narcissistic fucking greedy assholes that are willing to screw people over for a buck, whether contractually or whatever speaking. Fortunately enough, there's certain laws that actually protect really shitty contracts or whatever from being created. But I've just it's like sometimes I just want to stay away from people and make sure I only speak to good people, because you know you sometimes your mind recycles bad memories of shitty people, and it just takes away value from your life. It takes away this present moment from your life. There's been times I'm hyper fixated on worrying about people screwing me over because I've been screwed over in the past. And it's like, I really don't want to do that because it just completely, totally gets in the way of me just being able to enjoy each present moment, enjoy my life, enjoy my family, enjoy my mind, be happy. I want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone deserves to be happy. There's no question about it. Everyone deserves to feel free. But sometimes things get in the way of that, can make you feel like you're a prisoner in your own life, like you have no options, like you have nothing left to do. And, as much as I can like humanity, humanity a lot of the time scares and worries me. And it's basically through personal experiences and seeing stuff that's taken place and happened in the world. But there's been a lot of situations that have made me really not fucking like human beings. Because they're just fucking assholes. I hate to say it, they're just fucking assholes. And it's like, I don't want to get involved with assholes anymore, dude. I want to be with people that can reciprocate the respect that I'm giving to them. But some people just they don't have it, man. They're just living in the old Hollywood paradigm of might is right, or or popularity contests and all this crap, and teasing people who are disadvantaged and this and that. It's I'm sorry to say it, I don't want to say it, but I have to say it, guys. Humans, and this is not all humans, does not apply to all humans. It is definitely a generalization. But based on most of my experiences, guys, you know, long-term experiences between relationships with people, humans are just fucking. It's just like, why even bother, dude? someone's just gonna. Everyone presents a facade. Everyone's fake. Everyone has the potential of screwing you over in somewhere down the line, of speaking shit about you, of doing this and that. It's like, you don't want to have too many friends unless the too many friends you have are all good people and would never screw you over. But unfortunately, what I'm trying to say is that's not the world we live in. You can't just go around and just start making friends and just trust them at face value. And it sounds really negative. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds really negative, but it's I guess it's somewhat good to be aware of and to be cautious of, because if somebody goes and hurts you, that hurt and that trouble is just gonna be recycled in your memory later down the line and affect your ability to enjoy your life. And enjoying your life should be your number one priority, and helping other people enjoy their lives that matter to you. That should be your number one priority, enjoying your life, because you only have so much time here. If you're not enjoying your life, if you're not actively taking steps to make your life better, or to accept your life as it is and enjoy it for what it is, and you're just focusing on all the negative and bad stuff like I may seem to be doing in this video, like, what are you actually doing? Like, we're just wasting time. I'm just wasting time that I could figure out to be happy, that I could figure out to be content with life. But there's so many things that can get in the way of us enjoying each moment and just sitting down and just being happy, man. And governments and the world and businesses, their job, their priority should be making people happy. If their job isn't to make people happy, then what is their job? If you're not trying to increase or improve the quality of people's life in accordance to their happiness, what are you doing? Why are you publicly elected? Why are you in control of everything that's happening? Your job and your priority should be to create an environment that is conducive towards happiness, love, respect, positivity, and optimism. And if you're not doing it, you're just polluting this environment. You're just creating a toxic environment. And ultimately, that should be government's job. It should be to make people happy, not to scare them. You shouldn't be scared of the government, but everyone is obviously scared of the government because the government's God in many cases. But sometimes, the laws and stuff that they implement do help people and do look out for the interest of people. But we see people and companies screwing people over and doing bad stuff and destroying the environment in so many times and instances. It's like, what are your purpose of a government, conceptually speaking, is supposed to improve the quality of life of its people. No one's doing that. No one's emphasizing that. No one's prioritizing that. It's just money, 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 money. It's like the government doesn't even do anything to help homeless people. It's like, guys, if you're a government and you have homeless people, you fucking don't deserve to be in power. And you're doing nothing to get rid of it and nothing to solve it. And you're taking people's taxpayers' money and you're not using that to help its people. You're greedy. You're evil. You're doing fuck all to help anyone. It's heliocentrism, Jesse. Do you believe me now? It's a soulless system. Free yourself, and no creation is true. And you're at the center, brother, and it'll make you such happy. You look. I can agree with that, and I can see how that would definitely contribute towards someone's happiness. I absolutely, completely, totally see that. We may just have varying and differing views, but I do see what you're saying, man. I'm not going to disagree with what it is that you're saying. I do agree with it, and I do see what it is that you're saying. It gives more meaning and more purpose towards people's lives, which is being lost in so many cases, where people are ultimately not encouraged to find meaning or value within their lives. And I completely, totally agree with that. Another example is like OnlyFans. I don't know if you know what OnlyFans is. I've never subscribed to it. I never will, but it ultimately allows all these girls on TikTok and whatever to share naked photos and stuff. And it's mainstream. It's popular. This is like, if people are having to sell their bodies in order to make money, your government's failing. Oh, we're the greatest country in the world, but we have homeless people and people are selling their bodies in order to make money. No, there's nothing great about that. There's absolutely nothing great about that. Homeless people and impoverished people are just treated like pawns in a game. and they just take your money and they don't even focus on solving these people's problems. Like all the billionaires that exist, all the governments that exist, guys, you could have solved world hunger ages ago. You could have solved it ages ago. You could have solved the problem of housing ages ago. But you're not doing it because you don't care about it. And it's not a priority. So what are these governments? They're just ultimately control mechanisms. They're not looking out for the best interests of people. It really is. And quite frankly, that's simple. Did you hear President Trump is going to ban pornography and selling pornography this year? Yeah, I heard in 13 states in America that pornography will be banned. I think that's absolutely amazing news. And don't get me wrong, sometimes these governments do stuff that is like, oh, wow, it actually looks like you're looking out for the interest of people. Like, for instance, banning pornography. Yeah, that's a great idea, guys. That's a great idea. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. It's just destroying and degrading our society. If that smut didn't exist, it would be so much better. I'm not going to go ahead and argue that, like some people would. But I honestly think that everything should be allowed, and unless it's not harming or affecting other people. But that's not the world we live in. We live in a world with governments, with laws, with legal policies. And since we live in a world with governments, laws, and legal policies, if they are going to go ahead and block certain things, it should definitely be things like pornography. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. And America also wants to ban TikTok and blah, 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 da, da, da. Listen, if these guys come in and they create world peace and they help improve people's lives and get rid of poverty and homelessness, then it's like, oh, okay, we wouldn't have a problem with governments. If the governments actually looked out for people, we would have so much less of a problem with governments, But ultimately, guys, they say you're free, but you're not free, You just live in an illusion of freedom. You live in a quasi-legal framework which determines what you can and can't do. Oh, you can't just live on this land. You can't just do this. You can't do that. It's all about ownership and property. There's no freedom for as long as that exists. And I'm not, expressing views of socialism and communism, although it sounds like I am. But guys, for a government to be able to tell you what you can and can't plant in your garden, how many trees and animals you can have, obviously I agree that certain restrictions are good. Like someone can't just have like a small yard or whatever and just have a whole bunch of animals that actually need space. Even those animals should have rights, as long as our rights are not affecting the rights of other people. So a big part of this conversation, it does come down to law, it does come down to legal policies, because when you're born in this world, man, you're supposed to be born free, but you're not born free. You're born in a quasi-legal framework that determines what you can and can't do, which in some cases helps, like murder and so forth and so on. It really does help, don't get me wrong. But it just gives certain people certain power. It gives companies power. It gives certain political representatives power over people, and deciding what it is that we should get into and what it is that we should enjoy and what it is we're allowed to do, you know? So that's just civilization. That's human civilization. That's how humans have eventually negated their ability to control citizens and try ensure some level of civility and peace amongst people during our time and our life here on Earth. And since it's not a Mad Max universe and some wild, wild west, people go around and completely, totally butchering people without any legal consequences. That is kind of good. That is kind of good. But as many laws as we have, as many law enforcement as we have, we still have people doing evil shit. So are these world governments and these world powers actually solving the problem? If all their laws are put in place in order to act as consequences of people doing evil shit, that's great. That's cool. I completely understand that. But guys, you should be preventing it from happening in the first place. Like, for instance, preventing pornography. You should be preventing it. If you're making all these laws and you're doing all this stuff, you should be preventing an environment that's conducive to evil in the first place. And I don't want to get people hyper fixated on evil because it's just a really it's a really limiting perspective to have, because there are good people, there are good experiences here to be had in life, but you can't help but worry about certain things and be concerned about certain things sometimes. I mean, I know when I was a child, I used to worry about so many things, so many awful things from happening, and it just lived in fear. And I would say that the global and local environment in which it is that I lived in was conducive towards fear for myself and everyone, including my family. It's just completely, totally conducive towards fear. And hey, that's kind of a fact of the matter of life, because life is about survivability. Before any civilization had occurred, you know, people had to fend for their own food, fend for their own life, and ultimately just hope and pray that nothing bad happened to them. That's sort of the situation we're in. It's modern. It's centered around money. It's centered around business and survivability, and that's what generally creates all this fear within people, is being able to survive, being able to not have to worry about tomorrow, not have to worry about the next day. But since these laws and stuff do not encourage abundance, like for instance, some laws in certain countries would go ahead and, like in Hawaii, they've banned planting food trees or fruit trees in certain places. And it's like, that's not conducive towards abundance. That's not conducive towards solving certain problems. Like I know I keep saying this, but I'll say it over and over again because it's such a simple solution in my mind. But if people just planted fruit trees everywhere, then there would be no problem of hunger, guys. You just walk down the road and grab an apple or an orange or a pear. But that's not what we live in. We don't live in that environment. And, any billionaire could go ahead and solve that problem by planting a billion fruit trees. And boom, you're creating an abundant environment. We don't live in abundant environments. We live in scarce environments. They tax you and they charge you for water, which is free. Why are they selling free water to you? Oh, it's because it's going through their pipes, their systems, their this, their that. Okay, I guess it's kind of understandable. If you go to a stream or if you go to a dam and you just grab water from it or drink from it, should be completely, totally fine. But they're selling you something that's free, and they're using the infrastructure they've developed to deliver it to you in order to justify being able to sell it to you. If you want food, you need to work. You need to earn money. It's like sustainability is not really encouraged. My mom actually has a Facebook group called Survival Sustainable South Africa that focuses on sustainability. And these certain world powers and governments should be focusing on the same thing. They should be focusing on sustainability to create the hyper abundant environment, not abundant environment which is completely, totally dependent upon your ability to earn money. Money should not be earning money should not be a prerequisite of being able to survive human life here on Earth. There should be alternatives in order to provide abundance for people that don't have that money, because not everyone's going to have that money in order to ensure and sustain their survivability. And so there's all these issues, there's all this problem, and you can sit around talking about it for ages and these problems and this and that. But what it's really going to take is people like myself and other people who are concerned about these issues to try actually change things. And if it's not just for yourself during your life here, at least for the future generations. Some people may not be concerned about future generations to inhabit this space after us, and they may be only concerned about their life. But I sometimes I get so wrapped up in my own life, I forget to care about the future of other people. But that's not who I am. Who I am is someone who does care about the environment, about people's lives. But if you're struggling and you're surviving, it becomes so difficult to retain that care for other people and be concerned about these issues that affect yourself and other people. So, that's my viewpoint. That's where I stand. I kind of feel hopeless and helpless, sort of ranting and raving about all of these issues and not being able to directly solve it. But I am working on certain things that can help improve my contribution towards the world in a good way? And this is just happens to be some of the stuff I think about. But sometimes you can't feel hopeless about it, and maybe from a psychological standpoint, it's just better off to accept it and to make the most of what you have and the life it is that you have. But life has been changed for the better for people who have been vocal about certain things like this and have, in best case scenarios, taken actionable steps towards solving these issues, towards changing the paradigms and the standards that affect all of us from legal and governmental standpoints. So yeah, that's where I'm at. This is basically a ranting and raving video. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's a ranting and raving video. I'm just ranting and raving about certain things. But, I don't advise anyone to stay hyper-focused or fixated on this. I advise you to 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 take things seriously, but not to take life too seriously. Although life is a serious thing, but if we take life too seriously, then we just suck the joy out of it. And as I said, you deserve to be happy. I deserve to be happy. Everyone deserves to be happy. Uh, and you owe it to yourself in order to have a happy life while you're still alive here on earth. We all do. And sometimes caring too much can come towards your detriment, It can come towards your detriment, caring too much. Sometimes you're going to teach yourself to care a little bit less, but to still be aware and to still be cautious and to still care about things that matter, like meaning and purpose and positive contributions towards your fellow man. I think that's great. I wish and I hope more people could think like that. But you know what? I understand if they don't, because as I said, the primary concern as you enter this life is survivability. Survivability is what causes fights, it causes problems, it causes fear. Fear creates problems, it creates issues, it creates distrust, it creates division. And I think that as you grow older, you become less fearful. Well, hopefully, the world's just evolving into a place that's just less of a fearful place to live in. Uh, and maybe that is the case. Maybe it's funny that we even have the ability to feel fear. Why do we have the ability to feel fear? It's because bad shit can happen, and maybe that's some sort of protective measure in our own minds that prevent us from getting ourselves in dangerous situations. But I'm going to tell you a little story right now. When I had schizophrenia and there was this voice speaking to me, one of the things it kept saying was haptic feedback is evil. Haptic feedback is evil. Haptic feedback is evil. And I'm like, what the hell is haptic feedback? And what is haptic feedback? It's basically like a VR suit that allows you to feel pain, right? That, if you get shot in a certain place, the suit gives you an electric shock or constricts or whatever, and it gives you feedback, a haptic feedback, allowing you to technically feel pain. And so I was like, why is this voice telling me haptic feedback is evil? It's just a virtual reality device that allows you to feel things. And I started thinking about the human body. And I'm like, our human bodies are strange, guys, because our human body can allow you to feel pain. You can feel pain. If you lose your leg, if you damage yourself, if you get sick, if you get illness or disease, your body technically has a haptic feedback, a nervous system within inside of it, which allows you to feel pain. And it's quite crazy to think about because humans can feel pain, animals can feel pain. We can all feel pain. And if somebody is evil enough, and this is an extreme example, and wants to torture you or burn you alive or do some crazy, horrible stuff to you, that does happen in the world. Really evil stuff happens to people. People torture humans, they torture animals, they do all sorts of crazy stuff. It's like, oh, why do we have to have these flesh suits that allow us to feel pain, man? But fortunately enough, the escape of tortures is death. Like if you were being tortured for a super duper long time, I think your body then goes into shock and then overrides the pain. And then all of a sudden you can't feel it. So there's something in our body that sort of protects us from that. So it cannot become so absolutely, totally extreme. But if someone wanted to torture you for a seriously long time, they could. I mean, physically speaking, psychological torture happens all the time. I believe these social media platforms and governments and news agencies are technically psychologically torturing us the whole time since we've been here. But I'm speaking about like physical torture. And it's like if you were a creator and you created beings and you created those beings to be able to feel pain, that would be, in some cases, depending on your opinion, your perspective on the matter, can be considered as evil. You're creating beings in order to feel pain. And I know some people are not going to want to hear this because it's going to oppose with their viewpoints, but we can feel pain, So, from a design perspective, if you're creating beings, like they say that eventually human civilization will be advanced enough in order to create a simulated universe with conscious beings inside of it. Well, if you had to go and create a simulated universe, let's say as humans, and you program those beings in order to be able to feel pain, that's kind of evil. And you created a sandbox in order for those beings to have free will and live amongst each other and fucking kill and torture and murder each other and allow them to feel pain and existentialism within their own existence. It's kind of evil. It's got huge ethical concerns. Like, okay, one day we're advanced enough in order to simulate a universe and conscious individuals that exist within that universe. Don't do that. Don't allow that. That's fucking evil. Oh, we're going to create beings that can feel pain and die and be tortured and live amongst each other. Don't do that. That's evil. That's just my perspective. I may not be right in what it is that I'm saying. I may be wrong in saying it's evil. But right now, that's just the perspective I have. Life is beautiful. Life is great. But I'm just looking at it from a creator's or designer's perspective. Like designing beings that can feel pain is an interesting design flaw. On the one hand, it makes you appreciate not feeling pain, and designing beings that can get ill and become blind and so forth and so on, and live out 80 years being blind, 80 years not being able to see, 80 years with chronic pain, um, or depression or whatever. It's like, and I don't want to say this because, listen, I believe in God. Sometimes I have my doubts. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I was such a fervent, strong believer in God. But sometimes, I have my doubts. I'm just going to come out and say it. That's just where I'm at. That's just my opinion and perspective. I'm not going to deny the existence of God or expect anyone to believe otherwise. I'm just saying right now that's how I feel sometimes, because I'm wondering, and I know a lot of people, listen, I respect the Bible. I respect the Judeo-Christian God. I respect the values. I respect the principles. I love the idea of God existing. I love the idea of an afterlife. I love it. I love it so much, But I'm just going to come out and say, I can't help but wonder sometimes. I'm like, if God is here, why can't God just like reveal himself and be like, yo, guys, this is the situation? And maybe that's part of the beauty of life, is not knowing. And because we don't know, we value stuff a lot more. And because we can die and we can experience pain and stuff, it breeds a grounds for love. That doesn't say that that environment needs to exist in order for love to exist. But in this certain human context of life on Earth, it does provide more of a contrast and spectrum towards what love is. Like if you could lose loved ones and they can experience great pain or tragedy, it can breed more care and empathy towards other people, and it can make you value things a bit more while they are there. But that's not to say that an environment that exists outside of mortality cannot actually be conducive towards love, empathy, and care. It's like if you had a super abundant environment where people didn't have to survive and kill each other in order to gain resources and gain abundance. It's like, would there be less evil? If you can't really say that, because some serial killers just become evil because they become evil. They come from good families, good upbringings, and they just decide to be evil. But technically speaking, that's in the realm of mortality. If there was a realm that existed outside of mortality, then even if someone was evil, they couldn't kill you because they wanted you, because you are ultimately immortal. And it's like, if you remove the death and the ability to kill someone, you remove the ability for people to act on the evil, but not the ability for them to harbor evil within their hearts itself. And this is just some random stuff I think about from time to time. I'm not going to lie to you. I've spent time thinking about, if I was a creator, what world would I create? You know, and I know that's a bit of a controversial thing to say or state because of certain people's beliefs. But yeah, I've thought about it. But I'm not a creator. I can't create a world. Eventually, according to humans, they'll be able to create the world, be able to create life. Doesn't mean that they should, because there's huge ethical concerns around that. But I've thought about it. It's like, if you could create a realm of immortality, where, because you have to remember, like, our brain's neurology and psychology is contributing towards our emotional states, and our emotional states are contributing towards our actions. We have a disposition towards being able to feel depressed, but maybe there's a realm of existence that exists beyond being able to feel depression. That's exactly what it is that I'm trying to say. Because depression is like getting sad about certain things in life that are usually finite or limited or lacking or absent. Or it's just because of certain chemicals bumping around in your brain, and stress and this and that, and comparing yourself and blah, 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 da, da, da. Is there a realm that could exist? Like, I imagine that, if when I die, because I've been sharing a lot of near-death experiences on Patreon, because I enjoy listening to them. Sometimes I listen to them when I go to sleep. And I find it really comforting and conforming and preventative towards keeping a reductionist, deterministic view of life. Saying, oh, we live in a physical world, everything just dies, and that's it, you don't exist. Things seem so much more meaningless through that perspective. Uh, uh, you know, so sometimes I listen and I watch these videos and I share them with you guys. And it's amazing and beautiful to hear people actually leaving their body after they've died. It's unbelievable. It's so comforting and confirming. It's amazing, because that's one of the fears I have, I guess. It's sometimes more pronounced than other times, but I just think to myself, if we don't continue to exist, then it's just like, what the heck's the point of any of this? But it's so amazing and wonderful to hear that people go to the other side and they come back and then they report all these stories that are later validated by other people that were still in the room or still alive. And I just imagine one day, if when I die, not if I die, when I die, and I'm like, I leave my body and I'm like, whoa, I'm still alive. This is amazing. That would be such an incredible experience. And then you'd basically know for certain, I'm immortal. I live forever. What realm you exist in? Well, it's not really a physical realm, is it? But as people have said before, reality may not need physicality in order for consciousness to exist. Why should it? A lot of scientists and mainstream science says, look at the brain. It's a physical brain. If it gets damaged here or gets damaged here, it affects that person's consciousness capabilities. So therefore, we've determined that consciousness is limited towards a physical brain and body. But it's like, what if it isn't? And some of these cases where these people are clinically brain dead have reported leaving their body and still being conscious. Like, there's another story I saw recently. This guy found out later in life that he only had 10% of his brain. He found out later in life he had only 10% of his brain. 90% of his brain was missing. But he was a perfectly functioning individual. And he only found out later in life, I don't know why, they probably went to the doctor or whatever, and they scanned his brain, and they found out that 90% of his brain was just this liquid, and 10% of his brain that was left was allowing him to act and behave like a normal human being. So that extremely challenges our modern understanding of neurology. And it basically proved that consciousness does not originate from one certain or select parts within the brain. So there's so many questions and mysteries surrounding consciousness, especially with the presentation of these near-death experiences. And I think it's awesome to see, wow, the dude's clinically dead and they're reporting having left their body and being able to see everything in the room as and when it's happening. That's incredible. Can you imagine how sophisticated our existence may be if that actually happens to be the case? Consciousness extends beyond physicality, guys. Consciousness is not limited towards physicality. It can be extended beyond this physical dimension of reality, this third dimensional physical dimension of reality. And then it's like, whoa, do other realms of existence exist beyond this physical realm that allow you to still be conscious? Because if that is the case, guys, you're all immortal. I mean, your body may not be immortal, but your consciousness and your sense of self and existence may very well be immortal. I would love to believe I'm immortal, and I hope that I am. Sometimes I doubt it, but I listen to these near-death experiences, and I'm like, yeah, science has thought it figured everything about everything, but then there's these stories like a guy missing 90% of his brain, a story of people still reporting being conscious after being recorded as clinically brain dead, and it's like, whoa, we don't know everything about consciousness, clearly. And yeah, that's just, I guess, my concern. It's not that much of a concern because I don't be too hyperfixated on death, although I know it turns certain people off. But hey, that's the reality. I can't help but think about it sometimes. That is the reality, guys. And sorry, I'm rubbing my eyes because I'm allergic to cats, and I've got some cats here. And it makes my eyes get itchy. And it feels so nice to just like close my eyes. So yeah, I can't help but think about it sometimes. I can't help but think about life in general. I can't help but think about life and death and the limited nature of life. Like, to be honest with you, 80 to 100 years is a decent amount of time, but it's not that long. I mean, it is long, I guess, but in the scope of eternity, it's nothing, you know. And imagine one day you pass on and you're like, I'm still alive. I left my body. And that's what happens with these near-death experience guys. They physically die. They leave their body and they're like, whoa, I'm still alive. And I've shared some good stories on my Patreon, and I'll share some more. I'm going to go ahead and share more near-death experience stories on my Patreon. Absolutely. So let's see what it says here. Back to original point. It has been designed for a long time to destroy the original America via communist satanic infiltration from within, and all the degenerates are playing into that. Yeah, I can completely, totally agree with that, and it shows with their policies and all the crap that they've been caught doing in the past. Like, for instance, when they gave like 300 African Americans syphilis in order to test it on them, there's a lot of evidence and cases that show that the government did not have the best interest of the public at heart. In fact, they had the opposite. uh, you know. So yeah, I can totally agree with you that, and I can see how that's completely, totally possible because certain people maintain and adopt those political perspectives of a communist nature, limiting freedom and destroying things from the inside out. I completely, totally agree with you that. I think another example of that is the prison systems, the privatization of them, and the endorsements in order to actually fill them up and get prisoners in order to make money and make business. At the end of the day, it comes down to money and business. I completely, totally agree with you that. I'm not going to go ahead and argue with that point at all. That's true. And the problem with this, what you've just said, is, yeah, there's people destroying America values and beliefs from the inside out. And the problem with that is that, as I said, America is a culturally imperialist country. Most of the media you see online is American. And if America gets destroyed from the inside out, it destroys other places of the world from the inside out, because we're watching the Americans, we're listening to the Americans, we're learning from the Americans. And if their values are distorted, well, then that influences our values, So it's not just an American issue, it's a global issue, because America is basically the leader of thought, the leader of prominence of ideas and political beliefs. American news, and it's just all media and entertainment that's ultimately being sold to people, but it's got a double standard because it can act to control people and control their minds and control how things are done. Slave labor, absolutely. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm not going to argue with that point. It's hard to argue with that point because politically speaking, it's like they do some really messed up stuff, like war and all this crap and all this nonsense. Like the fact that we still have people going to war with each other. It's just like, guys, come on. Unfortunately, I wasn't born into a world that had no borders. I was born into a world that has borders, and I don't really feel free because of that. Because I can't just like go where I want to go and do where I want to do. I don't feel free, you know. But that's the world. I hope that somewhere in Earth's history, they figure out how to get rid of borders and so much control over people. But to be honest with you guys, sometimes you go on these social media platforms and it's like, looks like things are going downhill. You know, like what's being accepted, what's being normalized. Like I said earlier, OnlyFans and all this nonsense and this and that. Really decrepit and degenerate behavior is being promoted and normalized. You know, so that's the end of this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to make sure that I've got more stuff to speak about the next time I speak about something. As I said before, if you haven't done already, please subscribe to my channel. Funnily enough, my YouTube subscribers seem to be somehow growing, which is weird because for a long period of time, my YouTube was ultimately just not growing at all. And it started growing. I started getting some subscribers. So I'm like just wondering, like, how is it happening? And then to everyone who's helped me on Patreon, you do realize that your support on Patreon's helped me develop a product that I would not be able to develop without your support. That is huge. And I want to thank everyone once I get the chance and once I make a shit ton of money from this product I'm developing. To actually personally thank you guys, you know, it's in a big way. Not just a vocal thank you, but you know, get together, do something, and contribute towards you guys. Since you've spent all this time contributing towards me, ideal case scenario, I'd love to do that. I'd love to give back. I'd love to do that. But there's a lot of work. I'm supposed to actually finish an application and release it this year. Things seem to be on schedule. Sometimes it gets a bit difficult. And I get stuck on certain things, and it's quite hectic sitting around and coding and developing something constantly every single day. I mean, when you make an application, it's so much work, guys. It takes a year at least to code every single day, every single element. Well, not every single day because I have to try to take breaks. Because if I don't take breaks, I lose all passion and interest in what it is that I'm doing. So that's where I'm at, and that wouldn't be possible without your help. I can't sit around and program my dream project if it wasn't thanks to you guys. It is thanks to you guys, and I'm extremely grateful for your continued support and generosity. I really do appreciate that. Really amazing stuff, guys. I really do appreciate that. I'm glad I actually found something to speak about. I feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin lately. I've been stressing and worrying about certain things and doubting myself in certain aspects, and that kind of led into a little depression. And sometimes when I feel like depressed or nervous or worried about certain issues and topics, it's kind of really hard for me to like make content and share that content with people. You know, just got a message from. I was just watching Mass. Oh, no problem, man. Maybe we should be learning more about non-speakers. I just listened to an awesome interview, Jesse Michaels, American Alchemy YouTube channel, Harvard scientist. These kids are telepathic. Amazing. Thank you very much. I'm going to write that down, actually, so I can check it out later. Jesse Michaels. Let me just write that down. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out because I think that's important and awesome. Jesse Michaels, American Alchemy. Absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, guys. Thanks for sharing with us, Jesse. Yeah, no problem at all, man. Thanks for thanking me for yeah. So as I said, sometimes it's like I don't feel motivated to speak or share anything, so I don't end up posting a video or whatever on Patreon. I mean a live video or creating content because I'm just going through shit, man. We'll be going back to the land and building soon. I'm staying here to finish this application's development so I can launch it and make a shit ton of money and start actually doing good shit in this world. All the projects that you've heard me speak about before of helping people and doing this and that. But you need money, you need resources. So my answer to that resource problem is releasing this application. It's gonna uh, provide me a lot of power to make positive changes in a big way. Get more sun, align with emotions and thoughts to the future you, where you have accomplished your dreams, brother. It takes you right out of depression. I completely, totally agree with you on that. That's a huge thing because sometimes I doubt myself and my ability to do this, and it gets in the way, man. And sitting down and having to work constantly, it gets in the way of my happiness sometimes. But it's all just a psychological thing, which is what I've been finding. There's, I want to visit an Earth Center. I want to create Earth Centers and Star Centers as well. Absolutely. I'm creating a social media application. If you need help building it, let me know. Amazing, man. You are helping me build it right now because you're contributing towards Patreon. Uh, that's amazing. I really do appreciate that, dude. And absolutely, once I launch it and release it, bro, I'll have some bucks to say, yo, Secretariat, dude, let's link up, bro. And let's make some stuff happen, dude, like your comic and all sorts of stuff like that. So I should launch it this year, and there's a possibility it may take off and I may become super successful and start getting the resources I need to make all these amazing projects, which I've spent time proposing to you guys, like Earth Centers and this and that. And, like really positive new shit that hasn't been happening because I see a lot of these app owners and these billionaires and stuff, and they don't really do anything to help anybody. And I've always had a problem with that. And it's like if I was them, I would do things differently, and I'm going to do things differently. Hopefully I'm speaking things into existence right now, but it's a lot of work, guys. I've got to sit down and code. I had to teach myself how to code, teach myself how to 3D model, teach myself how to create music, teach myself how to design. I've got to teach myself so much stuff, but it's happening. It's being created. It's just really fucking difficult sometimes. I'm good at farming too. That's amazing, man. Hopefully one day we can link up, dude. I'm sure we can, especially once I'm done with this project. I've got some capital that I can send over to you to come visit me, man, and come do some things, bro. And by the way, I really like your content, Sacred Terra. You guys should check out Sacred Terra. He's got some really cool content. He's got some really cool, awesome viewpoints and things. I enjoy watching his channel, because sometimes I get so sick of what YouTube's presenting. It's really refreshing to watch a channel like Sacred Terra. We need a total parallel, private, non-public society and economy, and that's what I want to do. But you need resources in order to actually make that happen. So my answer to that is creating a really successful social media application that will funnel in a lot of resources to me that allows me to start working on these projects, that allow people to live freely and create exactly what it is you've just mentioned. Absolutely. I want to see South Africa. I know it's close to the outer lands, old maps. They were all connected back then. Yeah, I think you'd really enjoy South Africa, dude. I think it would be such a refreshing and amazing experience for you. Don't get me wrong, South Africa comes with all its negative stuff, but it's really beautiful. It's just sometimes as a South African, and as you can imagine, as being an American, you might get fed up with America. Sometimes I get fed up with South Africa. But if you're visiting, you'll really enjoy it. I'm not going to go ahead and discourage you from doing that. It's a really beautiful place, but sometimes I just get so over it. I need change. I need to move. I need to travel. Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate you. Absolutely. Everyone, check out Sacred Terra. His YouTube channel is really good. Give him a sub there. I have a huge pull to South Africa. Yeah, look, it's beautiful, guys. It's really beautiful places in South Africa. But, and you would love it. I'm not going to lie, you would love it. But me someone who's been living here for so long, like I want to travel, I want to see the world, I want to change, but my family's here and this and that, so it's good to be here for now until I can actually have resources to relocate my family and move around with them, travel. I'm just not in that position right now. What are your thoughts on Michael Tillinger? Uh, I don't have any problems with Michael Tillinger. I think a lot of his claims seem pretty sound, and yeah, I don't have a problem with the guy. Oh, what? We got Secretary here. Oh, how you doing, man?
Hey, good. How are you? Good to see you, brother.
Oh, didn't even see you, man. Thanks for joining, bro. I think it looks like this live stream's going to continue.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? What's up?
Doing well. I was just thinking about how you were talking about how you get sick of South Africa sometimes. Before I went to Italy, because I left for Italy last year on Halloween, so in 2023, I left for on Halloween, and I was sick of America, man. I went to Italy and I loved it, and but like you said, it's like every culture has their own culture. So visiting other countries, seeing how other people live is really good for just I think it's good for the spirit and the mind, man. Like
Yeah,
being exposed to different perspectives, like what they think about and their propaganda in Rome, especially because my family's from Rome, has nothing. They don't think about America. Like I was always asking them, like, "What about this?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" We don't even care about that stuff. It's like this is Italy. It's like so. I think honestly, when we focus on that's the thing. Like American propaganda is being infiltrated everywhere. I like if like to for instance, South Africa is very poor. Why should South Africans be worrying about American culture and American propaganda? I know,
yeah.
I know America is changing now, and actually, our representatives are being more accountable. Like they're actually doing things on time. Whenever they're scheduled to do things, they're actually completing them. So I think things are changing, and it does give inspiration to other countries and other leaders to follow. But I think like you were saying, like the social media, man, it's sad to see like poor children in other countries worried about what's going on in America when like you know what I mean, they don't have shoes on their feet. Like it doesn't make sense to me. But
It's such a huge point, dude, and that's the thing. Like for as long as I've been alive,
hmm
as living in South Africa, we have been influenced by American culture, American movies, American music, American news, and
hmm
then social media just made it like so much more accessible to
I know.
see, you know. And it's like it's so. I'm not gonna lie. When I was younger, I had a problem with America. You know, I had a problem with it because all my problems in my life seem to have been created by America, like materialistic friends, superficial friends. They just seem to be mimicking this culture that was represented in the media. You know what I mean? And it's like it's unfair to make such a vast generalization. Say, oh, everything you see on social media or the news or movies is an accurate representation of an American individual. You know,
hmm
uh,
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
so
Sorry for interrupting you. Yeah, it's that Hollywood mentality, and it's go
you
ahead.
know what I
Sorry.
mean? Like Hollywood was always making movies about the popular kids and the this and the that and the money and the American dream and blah 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 and the cool guy and the strong guy and the might is right and all these superfluous it just lacked meaning and depth.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
That's exactly. I wanted to tell you that before, like, because I've always watched politicians and you know the propaganda, the New World Order propaganda. I was always watching it and just always observing it and like fearing it, like, oh, this is gonna like basically just reading the script and just like agreeing to it. And then slowly I started learning more truth and changing the sources where I was receiving my information, what I was consuming. And then my mentality started changing because I was dreaming about all these new world order propaganda. They want this to happen. And I was dreaming about it all the time. And then like I switched all my media and I started watching President Trump. That's when I, like, literally when I started watching what President Trump was doing every day and watching the words coming out of his mouth, and it changed everything for me. Like, now I don't believe in their fear, but I know, like, with all the content creators, they all get on here and then they just repeat it for them, and then the people are watching it, and then then it gets to social media, and then it gets, channeled out 1,000 more times, and then by the end of the day, you have one story that's being viewed by 1 billion people, and, like, this is terrible. This is what they want to do. This is how they're going to do it. These are the resources they have. We know all of this, but we're not doing anything to prevent it. We're just trying to put you in fear about it. And
It's like a thematic guideline, like Joe Rogan speaking about it, Tucker Carlson speaking about it, Destiny speaking about it. It's like every week there's a new issue, and all these guys are just distributing that issue.
if
I guess that makes sense because they're trying to latch onto ideas that are popular at the time. But it's just, I'm so over it, dude. I'm so over a new issue every single week. The drones, the this, the that.
the drones, I think that's funny. Not funny, but, like, there you can see drones and orbs in the sky, and then they're trying to cover it up. To me, that's just old technology that we've always had. And then, like, the orbs, I don't know what the orbs are, but if you look at the moon and the stars, they look the same. Like, if you zoom in on one of those orbs, it looks like a pulsing star that's in lower, I don't know, atmosphere, lower, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it's, if we focus on, like they say, our frequency is what we do frequently. So, like, I'm on my phone all day, not almost all day. Like, I'm always researching new crypto and learning about what's the trends in crypto. And, like, right now, I've been focusing a lot with XLM and XRP. I bought it when it was cheap, and it's slowly going up. So I'm faithful in that. And once my finances are right, like, that's, like you said, that's our mission in life, is to be able to create and to
Enjoy.
help others.
Yeah.
So, but just what we focus on, or our frequency is what we do frequently. So, like, if everyone is just complaining about the complainers and the bad people, then that's the frequency. It's a repetitive, just making fun of them, talking about how bad they are, instead of being like, this is the problem, I have a solution. This is the problem, I have a solution. If we focus more on solutions than just giving them free media, like, this is what was said, it's repeated this many times every day for the next however many, until the next one. It's like, that's where we lack, where people are just easy to get in line and do what they're told. And, like you speak your mind, I speak my mind. I try to speak my mind as much as I can. Some things I can't talk about, but, you know if you can't talk and you can't say what you want, then you're like, a closed mouth will not get fed. So I believe, honestly, you see the changes happening all over the world. I think it's just, we have to agree that it's going to happen. We have to agree and allow the change to come. Like, instead of anticipating uh, a bad situation and preparing for it. I mean, always be prepared. It's better to be prepared. It's better to
Yeah.
have and not need. But to prepare ourselves for the golden age. Like, I believe this is the Jubilee year. It's 2025. We're gonna have so many great things happening. There's still a few bad actors
Well, that's good to hear.
that are trying to ruin it, and if we give them the authority to keep saying what they want to do, then we will never create what we want. That's the thing. It's like, no one has authority over you. When you realize you are at the center of creation, we're created in the image of God. He created this the sun, the moon, and the stars. This system, He created it for us. He put us here. There's a lot of people that don't want us to know the truth of our realm. That's why they keep us in their solar system. And we don't have to talk about all that, but it's just like,
No, I don't
realize
mind, dude. I don't mind.
realizing the bigger picture, that we are not just insignificant speck of dust in a space vacuum. Like, that's impossible. Like,
And look,
God.
that's a really good viewpoint to have, dude, because it really combats fucking depression and the prospect of meaninglessness in life.
hmm But yeah, I try, like, I focus on that stuff a lot because I'm on YouTube all day. I'm always watching. There's always something I have to watch, and and I'm learning a lot. Like I watch a lot of documentaries and interviews of like doctors and firsthand experiences because it's the way I learn. I learn from listening and watching other people do it the best. Like I'll have to write it 10 times before I remember it sometimes. But anyway, long story short, getting that out, you know what I mean? Your platform, like like bringing creators together who want to create, you know what I mean? Who don't just want to be a part of the soup, you know?
Yeah. By the way, I see you cut your hair. It looks pretty good, man.
Yeah, I think I feel a lot better, man. I was getting caveman. My mom was like, she was like, you were looking like a caveman. I was like, I know.
Yeah, my mom's saying the same thing to me. And so you said you actually had success on crypto, dude. That's amazing, bro. I got decimated by crypto, dude. I'll stay away from it, bro. But some people have better time than I do.
Yeah, the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit is gonna end, and I mean, there's two things that can happen. It could end and they're gonna settle, or it's just gonna be dismissed. And but basically, that's changing the laws for crypto and Stellar. They they're contracting with all the major banks in the world and everything. So like XLM and XRP, they're gonna rise. It's gonna be the new Bitcoin. That's what I believe. Like, but I mean, I wouldn't recommend putting any money into crypto unless it's something that you're willing to lose. Because when I first started, I was doing meme coins, and I had like 40 or 50 different cryptos. I was like, I'm gonna make all this money, and every month it was just like boom, boom, boom. They all just kept going down. I sold them all, forgot about them, and then I started hearing that lawsuit was gonna end. The guy's name's like Gary Genslinger. He's getting kicked out. There's and like our president is meeting with the CEO and the chief financial officers of these companies. He's meeting with the CEO of crypto.com. So like I see it happening, and the way that they're doing it, the old Swift system, they would have to you would never get your money immediately, and you're always paying fees into it. The way that they're doing this is going to be where it's going to be instant transactions. It's going to be quantum financial system, and they're against the CBDC. So that's the best part about it. You know.
Look, I just want to say this. If you're having success in crypto, that's amazing. I can't contest that. But I would never advise anyone to get into it. And I think you gave good advice. If you get into it, you have to be prepared to lose everything. Okay, you have to be prepared to lose everything.
Yeah.
Um, um, but I also think that after during 2020, a lot of people were getting involved in it, and a lot of people got decimated as well. And you know that Hawk Tour girl, she made a stupid little meme coin, and people got rug pulled like crazy.
Yeah, she pumped
Uh,
it and then they dumped it live while they were watching, didn't they?
yeah,
Yeah,
and and then Trump starts speaking about crypto and shit, and people start getting excited about it. It's like he needs to, in my perspective, in my opinion, he needs to caution people as well. Like he
yeah,
needs to caution people as well. He can't just promote a market where people have been decimated by it, because at the end of the day, it's like me telling people, oh, get into trading, get into stocks, you know. It's like I'm not giving you good advice unless I'm telling you, like, listen, it's pretty dangerous. It's pretty freaking dangerous, you know.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't recommend anyone who doesn't have who hasn't done their research to just buy into something like is someone saying, "Oh, I'll buy this crypto." No, I would never recommend that. I've I just was doing my research and I see where the quantum financial system's going, and I'm looking at all the contracts and stuff. And I'm actually been dreaming about XRP. I had three XRP dreams, and one night vision in the last month. So I haven't dreamed about it this month yet, but um, I don't
When you
know.
say
We don't. I'm not saying we don't have to talk about crypto. You know, it's just like
no, dude, I
it's
don't
something
mind.
on the
Express your
side.
viewpoints. Look, at the end of the day, it's benefited you. Can't argue that. I'm
Yes.
just pointing out to the listeners
Yeah.
that
Definitely.
I'm just pointing out to the listeners that listen. I'm not saying you can't be successful in crypto. Here we're speaking to Secretary. He is someone that has had success. But I'm just going to put that extra little bit of information, that disclaimer there. Like, it's pretty fucking dangerous, especially if
It
you don't
is.
know what the fuck you're doing.
Absolutely. And I don't know. I'll do some more research and be able to speak about it properly and give you the right vocabulary. But just the way I'm seeing it, and You know, it's just that's one of my investments, and I don't have that much, but I know over time it's going to be worth some money. So that was just a little investment, and just being prepared for the future, man. If we like, I believe, like you were talking about Mike Tellinger earlier, like you could have like, I mean, I'm not trying to say like, basically your Earth Center would be its own ecosystem, you know. And
Yeah.
if you could do that everywhere, it would be like we wouldn't have to have this problem. I don't know.
No, it's so true. It's giving an alternative, to
Yeah,
people who want it. And people should be free to be able to choose an alternative. They shouldn't be restricted from being able to choose a viable alternative. But
right.
this environment, a lot of the time, can seem really, really restricting. So I'm hoping that I become really successful and then I can invest my resources towards people helping me figure this out from
Yeah,
a legal and lawful standpoint to actually be able to implement it, because for one person to do that, it's really difficult, and it is doable. It is super possible based on my research and all the discussions of common law. But it would be great if someone had the resources to actually challenge it properly and implement it,
you know, hey, I'm telling you, like, you should have an interview with Flat Earth Dave, bro. He has a platform in his app, and everyone that he interviews, like, if you're promoting a product, he'll promote it for you. He'll put it on his app. More people will be able to see what you're doing, and you should just start that conversation with him. And like, I've seen a lot of people be able to expand because that's what he's all about. He's all about bringing people together who want to help this earth, who want to help our earth. You know, like I would be like
Yeah,
so
that's amazing, man. I can't fault that. And I think the more people like him who do that, the better.
Mhm. And he's not just about that. He's about like free energy, old world technology, revealing our true hidden history. Um, there's homeschooling in there. There's just he's got so many different things. Like if like because all it is just the right people, like you're saying, bringing the right people together, and then you'll see like like your app. You're gonna have like be able to meet up with people and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
You know, like that would be so amazing. Like if everyone got on the same page and we focused on. I mean, it's hard. I don't know. I think it's the body. Like you, I don't know. I every night before I go to bed, I'm always watching something else, and then I'll fall asleep unless I like have the discipline and I'll pray. I'll say my prayers and then maybe put on like a gospel song or something and fall asleep to that. But just switching our focus and not giving them that authority to narrate the world for us, like you said, like in the legally, the judicially, they work for us. They have sworn oaths. People who are in government should be doing their jobs correctly. People who are in the medical system should be trying to find medical cures and prevention. You know what I mean? Take away the money from the drug and the product industry of the product and drug industry side of the medical. Take less money and take that amount of money and put it back into curing and prevention, and then we would have like the world could fix itself really quickly. Like if we just did what was right. You were saying it earlier. If people did what was right, then what? I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, as I said
we'd have to
earlier, like
figure it out.
if the government was making people's lives better, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Right.
I wouldn't have a problem with it the way I do now. You know, I just said I wouldn't have an issue. Okay, you're taking our money and you're making people's lives better and you're making everyone happy. I'd have far less of an issue.
Right.
Like if there wasn't this fear of the government, the fear of this and fear of that, and fraud and fucking taking our money and doing stupid things with it, and not actually helping people. Like I don't want to speak too much about Israel and shit because I know how that can affect me down the line. But like funding wars and putting U.S. taxpayers' money to wars and shit, dude. It's like you got homeless people, dude. You got veterans that are homeless.
I
Like
know.
take care of them first. We actually don't even do the war. Okay, just take care of your people.
Yeah, it's terrible. Reminds me of Los Angeles. Have you seen the fires going on in Los Angeles
Yeah, I saw that, man.
and how terrible?
Huge.
Yeah, they went out there and passed legislature to shut off water supply to those towns 3 months before, and then it was so terrible. They were shutting down the access roads for people to evacuate. And then if you look at some of the footage, those that was not natural fires. It looks like, what I call dews, but like the
Directed
cars,
energy weapons.
yeah, cars were freaking torn in half. You had houses, the whole neighborhoods that are burnt on fire, but the trees are still standing. Like it was specific targeted location fires, what it looked like. And then now, of course, you have the people who are getting caught for arson. So I don't know if that's just you know people
Yeah,
playing.
I have heard that. I have heard people say, this thing looks like it's a bit fishy. And I saw one of those governors in Los Angeles. She had an upside down cross on her neck during one of her briefings or whatever. It's just so weird. It's like, why are you doing stupid shit like that, man?
Yeah, that's. I know. I pray for the innocent out there, the ones who are surviving. I don't know what everyone's situation in LA. I know it's not a good place to live. I wouldn't want to live there personally, but for the innocent, I pray for them. And like the firefighters and the first responders, and that's just showing how inefficient the government is, and hopefully that gets addressed because
But it
literally,
keeps happening in California, It keeps
yeah,
happening.
they're stealing their property and murdering them is what they're doing. Like there's so like they were saying, I don't know, it's a terrible situation. If that's one thing, if if I don't know.
Like, what happens to those people that lose their houses? Does the government help them or something?
So like when it happened in Lahaina and Maui, they had to wait. They just started. There was like some land grant that was going to happen, and they burnt down. Basically, Lahaina, all the people of Lahaina were supposed to get their property back, but then they did something the week before or something to where they shut off all their water. They did the same thing and they burnt down Lahaina. And those people who qualify for now because they had to do insurance policies and stuff, it took them almost a year for them to even start getting help back. But I know for Thanksgiving and Christmas, people were getting their homes back and things were starting to roll again. But I looked at it. It still looks like a war zone. Like they wanted to make Maui a 15-minute city. They want to do the same thing with Los Angeles because in 2028 that's where the Summer Olympics are going to be. And it's like I made a message the other day for Elon Musk and said, "Listen, man, it's like if you talk about you help the people, yeah, he's great for free speech and government efficiency and all that, but it's like he has space access. He has SpaceX and whatever he does. Why isn't he like surveilling the sky and figuring out what weapons are being used in the sky? I was like yelling at him in the video. I was so pissed because I learned about like literally you could see the cars. The people were not allowed to drive, and then like cars catching on fire. And they did the same thing in Lahaina. Like they actually detoured people to routes to where they got murdered, and it just Elon Musk, if he calls, they all talk about anti-globalists, but they are the biggest globalists with his rocket program and all the space technology that he has. He should be able to put some of that back towards Earth instead of worrying about and pretending going somewhere else. Like that's government inefficiency. Like I don't know. I'm praying. I still pray for him because I haven't dreamed about him in a long time, but I was dreaming about him and it's just the way my brain works. It's like all these people who are supposed to be helping us. It's like, hello, why don't you really do your job? Like, I understand he's only allowed to talk about certain things, but lately he's been giving the middle finger to everybody. Well, why don't you give the middle finger to the people some more who are trying to prevent you and give us some thumbs up, lift us up, do something for us because I believe I believe honestly that they're eventually going to admit that the Earth is not lost in space, at least because I can't prove that we're. No one can prove that the world is spinning, that we've been traveling. None of that. If you have, you know what I mean. There's no scientific proof for any of it. I'm waiting for that to happen. then the rest of the world will start to solve its problems because it's all globalists controlling it, and they're all globers. They think they're lost in space on a globe. That's why no one wants to do real Earth and Earth solutions because they have allegiance to something else. Like they don't have allegiance to my God. I believe in God, Jesus Christ. So what I mean, and that's what gives me the ability to. That's what God gives me my power. You know what I mean? I wake up. I don't fear. I know what I talk about. If I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll try to research it, learn more about it. If someone corrects me, I love that. You know what I mean? But the world we live in is just fear based and control. If we switch from that, get these real people like Elon Musk and whoever else, President Trump. Like President Trump, most people don't even know he's stuck in a situation where what I mean. He was in the viper den, so now he's clearing it out, and things are gonna change. So if we have to, I don't know. I think it's like beating the. I don't know what do you call it. It's like beating a dead horse. I just keep repeating it over and over. If you learn the truth of creation, and if you used real science, if we took the religion out of science, then I would appreciate science because if we put the real scientific method into it, start learning biblical cosmology, then you could say, hey, this is what science says, and it's also in the Bible as well. So then you can't be like, oh, well, some theory that's been theorized 1,000 times, and then you have all this data that's based off of a theory. So basically, you don't have the right information. You invested hundreds of years on false information. Now you're teaching it, and that's why everyone is lost and stupid. Like it's it makes me sick. But anyway, is there? Do you ever want to talk about a dream? Do you have any dreams? I remember last week I heard you talking, but it was so choppy. It kept going in and out. I think you said something about a dream, and then I tried to it was like the first 6 minutes I couldn't hear anything, and then I had to leave. But hello.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think it was when I was trying to play those TikTok videos. I think there's a problem with that, my audio. Yeah, I've been having some weird dreams lately. Um, just weird dreams, running, being chased. Nothing really significant, to be honest with you. But just weird dreams.
I had
And yourself?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I had a really cool dream the other day, and I'll tell you. I called my mom after the dream, and she was busy. She was like, "Let me call you back because I received the dream interpretation for your dream 4 years ago." I was like, "What?" She was like, "Just let me call you back later." So she calls me back. She's like, "Let me hear your dream." So I tell her my dream. I'm sitting there and I'm walking, and it's like I'm like on a beach, but it's got like grass. It's like a grass mountain next to like the ocean, and it's just like super bright outside, and there's people everywhere, and you could see two suns in the sky. There's two suns in the sky, and I'm like running around, going up to people. I'm like, "Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like, what does it mean? And it's like, well, it means. I said either. I said, I said either there's two suns, literally, or we're seeing the reflection of the source of the sun on the firmament, or I said it's one or the other. I was like, we're seeing two suns within our firmament. I was like, we're either seeing actually two suns or the source of the sun being reflected within our firmament. And they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, so I'm explaining this in my dream. I'm like, basically, the truth of our realm is not as it seems. It's like they've been promoting heliocentric sorcery. They've been telling us we're lost in space. They say that the sun is 1 trillion miles away, or however, 93 million miles away. I'm like, it's literally right there. You could see it. So I wake up and then I fall right back asleep, and I'm running down the same beach, but I'm running down in the same place. But now I'm like on the beach, and there's like these shops, and I fall in this huge hole, and like these little black like bugs are crawling on me. They look like diamonds. Like, have you ever seen in the Mummy when those little bugs were crawling on?
Scarabs.
Like those, it was like that, except they were the size of like a like a dime, and I pull myself out of the hole, and I got all these bugs crawling on me, and I'm trying to shake them off. They won't shake off, so I have to pull them off. And there's this lady just like looking at me, and I'm like, these things look like robots, don't they? And she's like, yeah, it's really weird. And then I woke up, but my mom received an interpretation on it. She was saying like, it's God is. She said, imagine this. She's like, if God wanted to reveal Himself, how would He reveal Himself? Or she said, no, no. First, she said, can you look at the sun? And I was like, not normally. I was like, sun gazing. You got to squint your eyes, and during certain times you can't. She's like, Can you look at the sun? I was like, no, not normally. And I'm like, she's like, okay. She's like, so if God would, she said, can you control ants? And I said, no. She said, how would you be able to control an ant? And I was like, I would have to become an ant, right? She's like, that's right. So she received, so there was a pastor or a priest who had an interpretation about a dream with two suns being revealed. So she's saying basically, like, in order to come down, Jesus had to reveal himself as like the physical sun and then manifest, or you have the literal sun and then physically manifest as a man, as the son of man. And he had to come down to this level to show the people and to become like an ant. You know what I mean? I was just like, I kind of butchered the interpretation. My mom gave a way better interpretation than that. But basically, what I was seeing is like, I was seeing two suns, and you know, the light source, and then God revealing Himself to us, the truth of this realm. And it just gives me like a confirmation, like, because I've had other visitation dreams where like I told you, where I seen Jesus come out the TV when He came out the TV, but then when I woke up, I wasn't able to look at Him. I was just hugging His waist. So it's just more visitations and more truth is what the people need, and that's what they say. God, how to say, Jesus says, "I am the light, the way, and the truth." So if we find out the truth, then they have no authority. I'm still trying to figure out the bugs crawling on me. Like, I fell in the hole, and then when I pulled out, it kind of reminds me of like a resurrection kind of, But I don't know. Maybe maybe we are heading towards the golden era. That's what I see, because I was so excited and I was so happy, and I just wanted everyone to see it, and everyone was just smiling and staring, and it was just like, it was amazing. Like the whole world, not the whole world, everyone around me was just like staring at the sky, like, and it was beautiful. And I don't know, that's really what I believe too. Like, I think, because we have a local sun, like I fly a lot, and when I was coming back from Italy, you could see in my channel where the sun was, and I was above the Swiss Alps, and there was a whole bunch of clouds, and you could see the sunspot on the clouds, and like when I was flying, the sun, I mean, the sun is apparent to your position, so it felt like the sun was following me the whole way back. Like, I watched the sun rise in the morning, and then I got in the air, I was right next to it. You could see how close I am, and like you could see it's me in the airplane. I sat all the way in the back. The airplane was almost empty. I was like, "Can I sit wherever I want?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Cool." So I wanted to take pictures and video, but you know, the dreams that, and I've had a lot of people tell me about dreams where they were taken above the firmament, or they were given like a bird's eye view, and just like different. I think from top, like dreams I think dreams and truth, like obviously, I believe dreams come from God. So like God is trying to reveal something to you. So when the truth comes to you spiritually, supernaturally, from God, it's a little more, it's a little more impactful. It's a little more important. Like a lot of people just try to brush off their dreams as nothing, but I don't know, dreaming, like you say, I daydream too. You know what I mean? I daydream. I dream when I in my bed, but we have to make our dreams come true. You know what I mean? And like I said before, I was having all the bad dreams and all the nightmares of constantly seeing these wars and these airplanes, and I rebuked it. I was like, I don't believe in that. I don't want to see it happen. I denounce the New World Order, all of it. And then I started having dreams of like different things. You know what I mean? I wasn't in that fear situation anymore. So life can be life can be what we make it. You know, it's our frequency is our what we do frequent. Our frequency is what we do frequently. So just repetition, brother.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear. It makes me think. I've had some pretty interesting dreams as well. Sometimes I dream things before they happen, really. But there was another occasion where I had a vision of what I saw the next day. It happened to me. Well, I'll tell you this interesting story. I don't know if I think I've said it before, but this one time I was at my farmhouse, and basically I was sitting outside, and I had a friend of mine inside the house, and basically I started hearing like this voice in my head saying, "Oh, we're gonna steal the TV." So I start getting paranoid, and I'm like, "Is it this guy in my house that's gonna steal my TV? Like, what's the story here?" And then eventually he ended up leaving, and I just forgot about it. And then the next day, that guy comes back and he tells me uh, that that same night, a house up on top of the hill, they stole their TV. So I found that really weird and interesting how I was hearing this conversation, and I sort of forgot about it and didn't place an importance of it. But sometimes I remember it, and I'm like, that's really weird, you know.
Yeah,
And then there were times where I have a vision of something I see before it happens. Like this one time, I saw like Batman. You know when he while awake, by the way, saw Batman. And you know how he opens his cape and it looks like he's a bird or a bat, you know?
yeah,
And so I see this and I'm like, that's fucking weird. And so I'm like, okay, cool. And so I'm bored, so I download this game. It's a DC it's like Super Smash Bros.
yeah,
And I download this game and I see exactly what I saw. Batman with his cape out exactly like that. And that was like a couple minutes after that, dude. So there's been a couple times where I've seen exact visuals or impressions that I end up seeing later, either a couple hours after or like the next day. And, you forget about it after it happens and you don't place that much of an importance upon it. But when I remind myself of it, like in a conversation like this, I'm like, yeah, it's really hard to believe, you know? But that's what's happening. So I'm like, that's interesting. How am I seeing something happen before I actually see it in real life, which has actually happened to me? So because I can't explain it, I sort of just forget about it. But sometimes it happens again. You know, if I close my eyes and then I start seeing like, have you ever closed your eyes and you start seeing like visuals? You know, if I
yeah,
close my eyes, I start seeing like full on scenes, and I see myself actually. I see myself if I close my eyes, and I'm looking at myself. And then sometimes like telling myself something. It's so fucking weird and trippy, dude. But I'll see myself, and it's like this unconscious, holographically projected version of myself is like communicating to me, and it's just so weird, dude. It's so trippy, and it only started happening after I started bugging out at that farmhouse. So it only started happening like 2 years ago, 2021, 2022. I'd close my eyes just to see certain visions. And I've seen so many visions of crazy random stuff. And sometimes, like when I was at the farmhouse, I had this vision of this tree and this bird flying, and it looked like really gloomy and depressing. And I had like schizophrenia at the time, so I'm speaking to this voice, and I'm like, it's really sad, man, because I'm thinking this thing's showing me a vision. And so I end up freaking out at that farmhouse, needing to come back to my parents in Johannesburg. And crazy story. Now this voice I'm hearing is fucking saying crazy shit. Like as I said earlier, it's like haptic feedback is evil, or it says something like people love to hate you and hate to love you, or saying something like I hate to say it, but God's really evil and God's gonna fuck you up. And hearing things like um, you're beautiful on the inside and out. And this is this voice telling me these things, and then it was telling me to like get down, but it was kind of also like my voice, but not really because I could hear it outside of me. And it told me to get down and bow this one time on the balcony at this where I'm staying now. And so I do that, and it starts raining when I do that, dude. So then I'm like asking this voice, I'm like, can I go back inside? And it's like, yo, you can go back inside. And as soon as I go back inside, it starts hailing like
Mm.
crazy. It like immediately after I go inside, it starts hailing like crazy. And it starts pounding birds. Like we have these hardy dogs, which are pretty big birds, and it starts pounding the trees and stuff like crazy. And it starts pounding everyone's cars got like damaged like crazy. But then I see this tree, the same tree I saw in the vision a couple months back, exactly like how I saw it in this gloomy scene and setting. And I was like, whoa, I actually saw this before it actually happened. And yeah, it was a pretty dark time because I thought I was in a freaking in some sort of joke, some sort of matrix, some sort of creation, and I was being toyed with by some sort of superpower who was communicating to me. It was so trippy, it was so bad, dude. And I believed it all because I couldn't tell. I thought it was some sort of spirit or some sort of demon. And I kept seeing these visions. Like if I let it tonight, if I close my eyes, it's weird. I start seeing like people and stuff, and certain things play out. So I'll see myself, and my hand comes to grab something by my head, just weird stuff. And I'm just like wondering, like, what is this? How is my brain doing this? Why is my brain able to show me this stuff? Um, and as I said, sometimes I'd see stuff before it happened when I close my eyes and see these visions. And I've seen some really interesting stuff, some crazy stuff, and I would hear myself talk to myself almost like I'm dreaming while I'm awake. Like this one time, I saw myself talking to myself, and what myself said to me was, "I was you." So sometimes these visions of myself speaking to me, and I can actually hear them. Uh, Thankfully, it's calmed down. My psychosis has calmed down. I've calmed down, and I'm not here. Like if I get stressed out, I'll start hearing this like sound similar to this voice in this atmosphere speaking to me, and it's gone now. And but sometimes when I'm really bored and lonely, I'm like, I kind of wish that voice would come back, but I'm scared of it coming back because some of the shit it told me was so terrifying. But it's like some of the stuff it told me was like really interesting. Like this one time, I had this vision where I saw this cube. In this cube was an infinite star field. I know you don't believe in this, but this is what I saw anyway. And I saw an infinitely expanding universe in a cube, and the cube stayed the same size, but what was inside of it was expanding. Like all these stars were getting further apart, but reducing in scale in order to fit into this cube. And then this cube unfolded like a cube within a cube. And so I started seeing some really weird and interesting and sophisticated geometric expression of this cube within a cube. And it's just, it's, talking about it now, it's just like, it's crazy. It's like, I'm wondering, like, how is this possible? How am I seeing this as visions? Like, my brain's just producing this stuff and I'm seeing it. And one of the things I heard, and I know you don't believe this either, but one of the things I heard was this voice said, uh, there's infinite space. Because I was thinking about all the souls, where do they go? And it's like, no, there's no problem about that because there's infinite space, you know, whether in this realm or the next. That's what it said to me. And I found that quite interesting. But as I say, because I interpreted it as schizophrenia, and you can't help but wonder if it's just your mind producing it,
right?
producing these things. But sometimes the mind's producing, seeing something in the future before it happens.
Yeah,
And it makes me wonder about space and time. Let's say in the context of a closed system, just the space and time we exist in. And it's like somehow I'm seeing another space time location before I see it here.
when
And it's like
when when did sorry to interrupt you. When did you have that cube? You said it was a vision of the cube
that was last year.
last year. I had a dream about a cube. I was with this angel. He was like in this blue suit and he had a golden belt on, and he took me up above the firmament and he showed me Earth from far away. This was when I still believed in well, I didn't believe in it, but I didn't know that the solar system isn't the way that they explain it. And I do believe we have an expanding plane. Like we're just within our realm where God separated us in the firmament. But if you look at the map, it it's an infinite plane. But anyway, um, in that dream, I seen that, and then there was like a Rubik's cube field like around the Earth. It was like you could see a Rubik's cube around the Earth in the dream, and like and then the angel was like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be watching." And I was like, "I don't want to watch anymore." And then he like smiled at me, and then he like took off, and then I woke up.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe the Rubik's Cube is like you figuring out the truth of Earth,
yeah.
represented of that. Um,
And the numbers on the cubes, like the nine, and there's six sides, and there's not three nine pieces on six different sides. I don't know. I'll think about that. That's kind of
yeah, I find the cube to be a really interesting shape because for me, it's like a representation of 3D space.
I got
Exactly.
one on my desk, man. I've been solving this since eighth grade. I finally learned and memorized the algorithm a couple years ago. So, but it took me almost 20 years to memorize that damn algorithm. I would always get
Wow,
like,
that's crazy.
cause it's so many steps, and then I finally figured it out though. But that's pretty cool.
So, what
But
if
I want to.
somebody randomly changes the cube up? Would you be able to figure out the steps you need to take?
I can solve it. Like, tell me when to stop mixing it. I mean, I'm not looking at
Okay,
it.
okay, okay.
But what I was thinking about earlier.
So,
All right. What I was thinking about earlier is when you were talking about how you see things before. That's something you have to pray on because I do the same thing, and then you just gave me an idea. Something to build your discipline with that is to pray on it because a lot of times, like when I was living in my old apartment few years ago, I didn't know if I wanted to live there anymore. And I was like, I'm not going to live here. I don't think I am. And then I would pray on it. And then I would see myself in the winter. Like I would see, it was winter and I'm still there. So I'm like, okay, so obviously I still need to be here. But having that discipline, praying for it, asking, because to me, I would ask the Holy Spirit, can you allow me to see this? Or if you have a question about something, to take it to God. You know what I mean? But that that ability to because I see things too sometimes. Like I'll see it and then I don't know what it's for, or like I'll be sitting in my bed and I'm like I'm just hungry thinking about something, and I'll see myself literally out the store buying what I want to eat, and I'm like, damn, that sounds good. You know what I mean? And
while you're awake,
yeah, those are the visions that you're talking about. Like I believe
or so
you are
you see
getting.
them as well.
Yeah, that's
But
something.
don't
It's
you find it crazy that you think about something, then your brain creates a scene and a visual context? It's
it's
incredible.
that to me proves God. Like just like the particle slit experiment, the only possibility that's possible is the one that happens. Like
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be arguing that experiment because they just can't conceptualize the idea of a particle being able to collapse into a non-physical wave. and that wave particle duality. It's like, why are we getting confused about this? I thought they confirmed that.
Yeah, that's like you were saying, because you were communicating. All you would have to do, like if that sound, what you were talking about, that you're curious about, you can denounce the negativity in it. Ask the Holy Spirit to, if like what you're seeing, those visions like that. I believe that's what we would call like a prophet. It's maybe not prophet. It's like a prophetic vision almost. It's like a spiritual. It's a gift of prophecy, a gift of foresight. And if you use it correctly, you know what I mean. Then it's can be very beneficial. That's something I wish I could do. Like know when, like certain things. You know what I mean. But God does it on His timing.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? Be
Yeah.
able to use it by will,
Where's that?
which I can't do. It just happens randomly. But I still found it interesting when it was happening. I was just thinking about how we're living in real time, you know, like me and you right now, we're speaking and living and conscious at the same time, the real time, you know,
Yeah.
which is also really interesting if you think about it, because we don't only exist, but we exist in a void of reality where we're traveling through time at the same speed to be able to speak to each other consciously at the same time, which is really interesting. It's like time is progressing moment by moment. And I found it interesting that I was seeing stuff from the future, so I thought that somehow the future, wow, that's incredible, dude. That's amazing. I was almost getting worried you wouldn't do it, but you actually did it.
I was talking too much to the kind of little trying to do too much at once. But go ahead.
That's incredible, man. Wow.
Thank you.
20 years, eh? I cannot do a Rubik's Cube, dude. I suck at Rubik's Cubes. Uh, but what was I saying? So I was thinking, like, somehow this space time configuration we're in, like, let's say your moment now, you're in your room, shit's happening outside, shit's happening around you, shit's happening in the room.
Hmm.
Excuse my language. But somehow that physical moment is connected to a future physical moment to the point where you can actually see it. It almost the future almost exists outside of time in a way
That,
that may be simultaneous. Like the future may be simultaneously occurring right now as this present moment, which would allow us to see the future. Because let's say we do live in a closed system, Earth, right? Or even an infinite universe. Or let's say it only has a limited amount of variables. Okay. So in your room, you're wearing a red hoodie, and you've got curtains over there, and what. There's so many variables. You know, there's only so many mathematical attributes, data points. So those data points could be calculated to figure out what configuration would occur in the future. I think what I'm trying to say is somehow this, like if you freeze frame your life right now, freeze frame now, you pause, somehow that moment you're in now is related to the future. Obviously, it's related to the future because it leads into the future, but somehow it's related to the future in a way where it can be accessed in the present. Yeah. I mean, how else did I have those experiences? How else do people have precognitive experiences and precognitive dreams if the present isn't somehow linked to the future in that way and is simultaneously happening and accessible in the present moment? That's just some of the thoughts I was going through my head to explain what was happening to me and how it was possible.
that's I don't know. I have some kind of maybe some cartoon theories that I could just something like I've always thought of. Like, what if time is not real? Like, what if they just all agreed that we live in this time era now, and they call it 24 hours and this and that, and like, what if like because back in the day the technology that they had, there's the biggest pyramid is in South America somewhere. I can't remember. The movie Apocalypto, Mel Gibson made. It was based off
Great
of that.
movie. Great movie.
Yeah, over there. That pyramid system, you could fit like all of Egypt pyramids underneath one of their biggest ones, you know. So
Wow.
I think that our, I don't know, I think that the time, you're right. There is something where, because I believe we can. That's why we have free will. God gives us the ability to have free will. You want to do good, good things happen. A leads to B, B leads to C, yada yada. But something with the way that they control the time, making us think that we have to go lost in history, and like it has to be a lie. Like to say that there's billions of years, and then all of a sudden all this happened in just this much amount of time, and then we're receiving all the stolen technology, the original creation technology that was from the beginning is being slowly introduced again. I think this is there's you're right. There's something with the time, like because I don't know how to explain it. That's dang. I just lost what I was my train of thought. Like we're just all agreeing that this is the time right now. You know what I mean? Like, or not agreeing that this is the time. Obviously, you need time for structure and society to work, and traffic signals to be on time, and court dates, and all these things. So chaos doesn't exist. But the time that we live in, it's really just the rotation of the sun and the moon. You know, like if we got back to real time, we would be. I don't know, man. There's something there, like making like a. Because I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what is time? It's a unit of measurements of elapsed duration. Um, so
I always said it's the amount of blood that gets pumped in between each heartbeat. That's what time is. That's what I always thought when I was.
yeah, sure, a unit of measurements,
Yeah, a unit of measurement.
elapsed duration. So, for instance, like a baby takes 9 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, so it does take a duration for a womb to fully formulate into a baby before it's born. Elephants take 2 years for the gestation periods.
Right.
So, so time's a weird concept because on the one hand, it's like, yo, we sort of like, for instance, the 24-hour day. We've divided, let's say, a rotation or a day of daylight and nighttime.
Hmm.
We've divided it into 24 hours. It could have been divided into 12 hours, or it could have been divided into 5 hours. You know what I mean? I mean, not obviously an hour, 60 minutes, but it could have been divided into to 5 segments instead of 12 or 24. You know what I mean? So on the one hand, it is artificial because we have imposed this system of saying there's 24 hours in a day. Why are there 24 hours in a day? Why aren't there 48 hours in a day? You know,
Well,
or
20.
12, 12 hours in a day. You know, it's just because we've decided there's 24 60-minute cycles in a day, but that could have been anything. That could have been anything. Anyone could have decided any interval measurement of a day. You know, instead of
Have you heard
24
of?
intervals. Hmm?
Have you heard of? It's in. I don't even remember what it's called. I'm gonna try to figure out how to find it. It's like the Romans back in the day. They knew that the sun, because they used sundials, and they would add. It
Yeah,
was like plus or minus 30 minutes for the summer and the winter hours. Like so, an hour in the winter is actually only 45 minutes, or vice versa. I can't remember. I'll have to look at it and try to remember it. But the way that they measured time was with the sun. Like, I mean, 24 hours makes sense. It's military time. The whole world uses 24 hours. Where they confused us is when they turned the clock into two 12-hour days, or it's 12. It goes around the clock twice because if you look at the like on the flat Earth map, if you look at the clock, because Dave made the flat Earth clock map, and wherever the sun is, that's where it's noon. And like if you're directly across from them, it's 12. Like the sun clock map works perfectly. Like he was 12 hours across from someone. I think they were in New Zealand and he was in California or something. I can't remember. And the position of the sun, it was noon above the guy. The sun was right above him. And then he was 12 hours across from him and he was like midnight or whatever. I can't remember the exact, but it works. I'm just saying the way we. How many times do you? I don't know. I don't think the world has been reset just once. You know what I mean? I don't know how many times they've done it, but this I don't know. I think this is our year. I'm gonna figure out what that sun clock thing is called. Hold on. What was it called? Roman.
Well, according to mainstream science, humans evolved from fucking whatever in like 200,000 years or something. It's really weird. It's like, how do you prove that? It's really difficult. That's why it's all theoretical. Evolution is still a theory, funnily enough, even though we we have some evidence of evolution, in animals and stuff, in certain genetic adaptations. Uh, but it's like, it's still called the theory of evolution.
Yeah, I'll find that for you. They showed it where the way that they were able to try to basically like what we're experiencing because it's so dark in it gets so dark in the winter earlier. So I guess our hours are wait a minute. Time slows down in the winter. That's what I always feel like. Time slows down in the winter. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Oh man, like when things get cold, they start to freeze. It does the same thing to time, and I don't know. It's evident for me. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, well, there were certain guys that had atomic clocks, and then what they were doing is flying planes in the sky with them and seeing a time dilation, a difference in the time.
Right.
And then obviously it's Einstein's time relativity theory. Um, you know, he's got some really interesting theories about space and time, how space can bend time, or some other crazy shit like that. But they actually tested it with aircrafts with atomic clocks, and there was an elapsed time between the clocks in the sky and the clocks on the ground, which I found weird. I can't really explain it or prove that to you, but that's just what they say. But Einstein's theories are pretty interesting. I mean, uh, I don't know if you saw in the other videos going through all those scientists that didn't believe in God, like Stephen Hawking is one of them. Uh, uh, just interesting,
No, I didn't
people's
see it.
theories.
I don't.
Look, we got Einstein was smart, even if he got some things wrong, he was really fucking smart, dude.
Yeah,
It's
he was
interesting how you get smart people like that.
towards the end though. He was bought off. They all were like they were all reading cue cards. It was like the all the greatest scientists from in history came out the same year, right around World War Two, when World War Two was starting. They supposedly all the best scientists came out, and they all have their own things. Like I've heard, basically every one of them are just actors. But I don't. I mean, I don't know it. I don't do their research. I don't study their things. I don't have time for it. I don't. You know. I understand he's smart and he has his theories, but I'm more practical in what I can see and what I can observe. You know what I mean? To have relativity theories, that's when they were just trying to. That's when they're trying to disassociate God from His creation. They're trying to bastardize the creation, separate you trillions of light years. You know, I appreciate them like for this the real science they were doing, but you could see he was just reading note cards and he memorized all his things. He even he would give the same speech so many times, like his uh his assistant could do the speech for him, and he actually did one time when he was sick. So um, I don't know. I pray, I think faith over fear, and the things that science can't explain, they should be looking towards supernatural and looking towards the Holy Spirit and trying to understand God, trying to communicate with God. But
Yeah, but in their perspective, they're just so totally shut off from it because it's like all they can see is this physical world, and they're looking at the brain and consciousness, and they're like, this is what we know. I'm sure not all of them are bad, dude. I'm sure some of them are just curious about how reality works. But as you say, you can't rule out some of them being, paid puppets to is further cement the scientific establishment. Um, And obviously, but there's interesting science being done in that in the paranormal, I guess. I mean, that's why I don't know if those guys I follow who started that organization that study all those NDEs and all this stuff and psychic phenomenon and activity. Some really interesting stories out there that make you think. It's just you wish some of the stuff was more repeatable. But yeah, I mean, look, I like as scientists would say, oh, this is the physical world or the physical universe, and this is all that exists because it's all we can see. And it's like, but how can we decide that? How can we rule it out? We don't really know. And then you get like string theory and all this sort of stuff. Theories, emphasis on theories. But it's like, are there extra dimensions? Are there extra realms? Why are we just assuming that the physical world is all there is in terms of what can be perceived in reality? It's clearly evident that it's probably not, especially with the stories of those people who leave their body. Like, I don't know if you saw that other NDA I posted on my Patreon, but that girl committed suicide. And as soon as she did that, she left the body.
I
She was
didn't see
watching everything happen. Really interesting story.
that. Wow.
But I find it's so that for me is evidence that there's some other realm, that our
Yeah.
consciousness can exist in. You Especially when these people see stuff that's happening in the operating theater and later wake up, and then they like tell the doctor or whatever. Like I told you that sticker thing where the chick floated above the bed and floated above the ceiling fan and saw a red stick on the top of it, and then when they resuscitated her, she's like, "There's a red sticker on the ceiling fan," and then they looked at it and they're like, "Yeah, there is." They took a ladder and they're like, "Yeah, there is a red." So
Hmm.
obviously, that's for me. That's indicative of some other realm of reality or consciousness. This one time I was trying to astral project years ago, and I don't really have any luck of consciously being able to voluntarily do it. But what actually ended up happening is one of the nights randomly when I wasn't trying to do it, I was sleeping and then I woke up in this. I don't want to call it a dream, dude, because it was so much more realistic than a dream. It was so much more real. I was so much more conscious. Dreams are somewhat like semi-conscious. But in this, it was like I was super conscious. And what happened was I got up from my bed in my room, but everything was covered in infinite amount of strands of brilliant light, which I'd never seen before till this day. Like my body was this beautiful glowing light of trillions of these strands of light, gold and blue and red, and it was like so divine. But the whole room was like this light, unpacked with this unbelievable light. And it's like, and I was super conscious, I was consciously getting up from the bed and looking at my body on the bed. I saw my body. I was looking at my body, dude. And my body in the bed and everything in the room was covered with the surface of beautiful light, like it was gold, and all these different colors. But the whole everything was covered with it. There was no normal surface. It was all this brilliant light covered with trillions of these strands of light, and my body was just so unbelievably beautiful because of the lights. This beautiful light, dude. And the room and the ceiling and the door and the floor and the bed, this beautiful, brilliant light. And now speaking about it, I'm like, is my brain accessing some other dimension of light? It's just unbelievable, and it's also quite interesting to see that we can be really consciously awake and aware but it wasn't like a lucid dream, where a lucid dream still feels like a dream. It was like I was getting up in my bed, dude. And I've had a couple of experiences like where I'm super conscious while my body's asleep. And I find that interesting, that while your body's asleep, you can be totally aware and totally conscious. And I guess in a way, it's similar to these NDEs because their bodies shut down, but they're reporting being more conscious than when they're conscious in real life. And I find it, and there's also reports seeing all these colors and lights that they've never seen before. And so, yeah, I definitely think there's something to that, man. I for a long time, believed there were extra dimensions because of experiences like that, which led me to believe that this must be some sort of light-based reality infused with consciousness. And there, I believe that there were realms of varying degrees of this light because I was seeing it, right? I was seeing it in these dreams or whatever that felt really real. And so I figured that, listen, if there's a non-physical dimension, it must have these self-sustaining lights, these self-emergent lights. They are their own source. These lights are their own light source. And and so, for a very long time, I was very clear on the idea that the afterlife does exist, and that there must be other dimensions of reality that do exist and intersect with this reality, unknown to us somehow. But after I went through all that bad stuff and all that trauma, I started doubting everything. I started looking back at the reductionist, deterministic, physical perspective of reality, which is like, no, you've just got your brain, and your consciousness originated from your brain, and your consciousness depends on your physical body. That's what mainstream science believes. But as I say, I sort of listen to these stories, and I'm going to keep sharing and listening. So I like to listen to them before I sleep. I look for the more interesting ones because a lot of them do sound like hallucinations. But I look for the ones where they're specifically describing leaving their body in the same setting where they died, uh, because that's more conclusive for me.
I have a
Uh,
I have
yep.
a mentor of mine growing up. He's actually a priest. He's a doctor. He's written books. He's probably one of the smartest men I've met in my life. And he did a lot of work with people in comas. He would visit them, pray with them, and they were able to like. I'll talk to him about it because I don't know all the details of his work, but studying like while the you're absolutely right. There is another realm. Like people, I've heard of people coming back from comas and they lived lives and they were married and had children, and then they come back and they're like, "Where's my wife?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" And they start explaining the coma life that they lived. Um,
Wow, that's crazy. Wow.
yeah,
Almost missed that. So what you're saying is they go into a coma and then they report having a whole nother life.
yeah. Actually,
Okay.
a friend of mine, he got sick. He was in a coma, and he said he got married, had a whole nother life, we had children, all that. And he said the time was way longer. He said it felt like 10,000 years. And I was like, that's crazy.
Wow.
And then I've heard of like other people where they live out specific lives. They've done, they come back and they start asking questions and they're like, no, that never happened. I'm like, oh man. But uh,
So there's a few of these stories where people are actually still conscious in the coma.
yeah, like it's the brain. I don't know. There's a connection to God. That's what I was gonna say. Have you seen like the
But
movie?
let me ask you something. Did he say like he lived out a whole life, dude? Like it was real, like this life he's living now.
Yeah, he said he got married, he had children, lived out an entire life. And when he came back, like he was confused. He was looking at his real wife, and he was, I don't know, like that would be really that would I don't know how to explain that, but I think like basically we have that connection, our spiritual divine connection to God. You know, maybe in that circumstance, that's what I don't know. Who maybe that's like what people call purgatory, or I don't know what that is. I have no idea what it is, but
Well, I'd love to interview that guy to ask him some specific
yeah,
questions because I think that's like I'm wondering in my head, did he go to sleep and wake up in this life he was living? Like was it moment to moment? Like it wasn't just like a foggy dream?
I don't know. I didn't ask all those details. It was just, um, but you know how have you seen the movie Noah or like Moses? Any of those movies where they show how they get the visions? and they were going crazy in the beginning. Like I think like seeing those visions and like what you were calling astral projection. I tried like a long time ago. I called it distance healing. I was praying when uh when that when the what was that, Syria, when they were using the gases on the children or whatever,
Yeah.
and I was watching that and I was trying to distance heal them, and I had like a seizure. My body started convulsing, and I was like seeing like I was literally like I felt like I was in the body of the children that I was seeing. Like it was, and like and I was feeling like my body. Like I don't know. I believed it that I was healing them. You know, I don't know what happened. It felt like I was having a seizure, but I could feel those kids and I could feel the burning of the chemicals. It was really weird. And then I go outside, and then like a huge comet came by. It was like, and then something fell out the sky and started falling towards me. Like this is all in real life after I was doing the distance healing. And it looked like an airplane was falling towards me, and I was like, please God, no. And I pushed my hands up, and it went away. It was really crazy. Like it would probably look like, I guess you would call it a UFO or whatever, but literally the whole sky lit up. It was like that blue and orange huge comet that like. So I don't know if it's like when we try. Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
sorry, I just got cut off here. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I don't know if it's like when we do what we call like projection, astral projection, or distance healing. If we don't, I think maybe I was like not in the right mindset, didn't have the authority to do that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't ask the Holy Spirit to guide me before I did it. You know what I mean? I think maybe sometimes that's when things get a little scary, but it, literally what you have is a gift. Like you have that foresight gift. You're able to communicate in the spiritual realm. You know, like that's I guess that's a generic, vague way of saying it, but looking at the people that are stuck in comas, that would like, like, because I dream a lot, and I always you know the movie, I don't
But
remember.
according to science, isn't that supposed to not be possible? Like it's like they're not supposed to actually still be conscious, right?
I I don't think so. I think we have since the eugenics program started, science has been manipulated, and they're using literal Nazi propaganda in their healthcare system. So no, I don't. Like I believe that's when they started the whole taking away people's spiritual gifts was during that time, or not taking it away or making you forget that you have them. Basically, is what they were trying to do. But like I think with dreams, like just like people that are in comas, I'm sure. What if people who are in comas are communicating with other people in comas or people who have already passed away? Who are they communicating with? Like, as there have the, I don't know. To me, I could, if you had like a data of all that details, and then you could talk to the people who came out of their comas, and then you could ask them questions. I'm sure that you could find lots of connections, and because I still believe that you can meet up in dreams. Like I know if like I dream about someone, I'm not saying that I'm actually that they're dreaming about me at the same time, but I think it's possible. Like why would you dream, like for me when I was dreaming about the same things over and over and over, it was, I guess it was fear based. I wasn't understanding, but I believe somehow like while I'm dreaming, I'm actually like God is actually showing me what I'm supposed to do or what's going on. Like I see I see things happen and then they happen later. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It's
So you've also had precognitive experiences.
yeah, a lot. That's a good. I was. That is a good. Because after my surgery, so and like after my seizure and after my surgery, I'm sure that's a similar feeling to a near death experience. Like, well, actually, when you have surgery, they basically do. kill you technically and then bring you back. I don't know what they call it, but it felt like a near death experience, and I'm sure there's a correlation, but I don't have any recollection of when I was out. I just remember being right before I went out and right when I was woken up. And when I was woken up, I was just screaming. I was in a lot of pain, and they injected me, and they had to keep waking me up. But that near death that's I maybe that's not for us to actually fully understand, because like if we got to heaven and knew everything, we'd probably get kicked out.
Yeah, it's part of the mystery of life, eh?
Yeah,
But you gave me a really good idea. After this call, I'm gonna look for some videos about people in comas and listen to their stories. That
yeah,
try to see what the scientific understanding is, because it sounds like what they're experiencing is not what scientists would expect to be possible.
right. I understand. So, bon appetito. That's why we say enjoy your meal. It sounds like you're eating. I don't want to. I don't want to keep this going too much longer. I'll catch up with you next time. Um,
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation.
you're welcome.
I'm sure you got lots more stuff to share, but yeah, you gave me a good idea. I'm gonna do some research into comas. But thanks, man,
All
for
right.
giving me your time.
Yep. God bless you. Bon appetito.
I'll speak to you soon, brother.
Peace be
Cheers.
with you all in chat. Thank you for having us. Peace, bro.
Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for joining
Guys,
us.
thank you so much for
Stream. It's always good to speak to Secretary. He's got some really interesting stories to share with us. And hopefully you enjoy that. I'm going to eat some food now and hope you keep well. And sorry, Secretary, for making food while I was talking to you and eating. I was quite hungry. I didn't want to stop listening to what you're saying. But thanks, guys. See you soon. Keep on.